Chapter 704. The Tree King emerges. Inside the cave heaven. This? Ling Zixiao stared at the scene in a daze, her beautiful eyes revealing surprise and doubt. She knew that Lu Chongqing was breaking through to the middle stage of Foundation establishment on his way back from Zhoushan Immortal City. But at the moment, spiritual pressure surged around Lu Changsheng's body, far surpassing the middle stage of Foundation establishment and reaching the late stage. Shiyu, can you sense my magic aura? Lu Chongqing asked Wuxia. My lord, Xiao Daoist friend can't hear your voice right now. Ling Zixiao spoke out, then made a hand spell and conveyed the message to Wuxia. Chongqing, I can't sense your magical spiritual pressure, but somehow, I can feel where you are, Wuxia said. Somehow, you can feel where I am? Lu Chongqing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. He thought to himself that there was such a method. My lord, do you have any means of communication with Xiao Daoist friend? The formation is primarily for hiding, illusion, and confusion. You and Xiao Daoist friend are both within the formation. If there's some treasure, you can still sense each other's presence. Ling Zixiao immediately said to Lu Chongqing. Means of communication, treasure? Lu Chongqing subconsciously took out a yin-yang sensing talisman. But in the next moment, he figured out what was happening. Dao Foundation. When he was condensing his Dao Foundation, he used Wuxia's Supreme in Moonlight as the basis. Therefore, there was an inexplicable connection between them. That's also why the dual cultivation effects between him and Wuxia were far superior to others. Now, without the jade pendant to conceal his aura and running his magical spiritual pressure to its peak, and with them not being far from each other, Wuxia was able to sense him through the Dao Foundation. It's okay. It doesn't affect anything, Lu Chongqing said. Then with a slight move of his mental spirit, he activated the 9 treasures Rui Bone. 9 treasures Rui Qi. Boom! In an instant, the mana in Lu Changsheng's dantian surged like a breached river and an erupting volcano, his spiritual pressure climbing steadily. This spiritual pressure made Ling Zixiao beside him feel a certain pressure. This? Ling Zixiao looked at Lu Chongqing in front of her, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. It was astonishing enough that Lu Chongqing had revealed the spiritual pressure of the late stage of Foundation establishment. But now, his spiritual pressure was still rising, almost surpassing the Foundation establishment stage. The air around them felt dense and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. Having a contractual bond with a third-rank Demon King, being in the middle stage of Foundation establishment, revealing a spiritual pressure that nearly surpasses the peak of Foundation establishment. At this moment, Ling Zixiao didn't even know what to say about Lu Chongqing. After many years of knowing him, she thought she had seen just the tip of the iceberg. But now, she found Lu Chongqing as enigmatic as ever, shrouded in mystery. Even if Lu Chongqing claimed to be the reincarnation of a great power or a true immortal, she would believe it. Zixiao. Lu Chongqing slightly reduced the spiritual pressure directed at Ling Zixiao and called out to her. He asked her to inquire with Wuxia if she could sense the magic aura. Upon Ling Zixiao's questioning, Wuxia indicated that she could not feel the magic aura. Good, that's fine, Lu Chongqing said with a loud laugh. He stopped the effect of the 9 treasures Rui Bone, and his aura fell sharply, leaving him feeling empty. Chongqing. Wuxia's cold and moon-like beautiful eyes softened a few degrees when she saw Lu Chongqing. The next moment, she expressed her surprise. Chongqing, you've just broken through to the middle stage of Foundation establishment? She and Lu Chongqing had broken through Foundation establishment together. But she had only just reached the 3rd level of Foundation establishment not too long ago. Yet Lu Chongqing was already at the middle stage, which was very surprising to her. I had a bit of fortune before, Lu Chongqing said with a smile, downplaying it. Wuxia didn't say much. After all, compared to all the various mysteries surrounding Lu Chongqing, his middle stage cultivation level didn't seem so remarkable. Since there is no problem, Zixiao am going to release the Tree King. You two should move back a bit, Lu Chongqing said to Ling Zixiao and Wuxia. Okay? The 2 women nodded and moved back to Chongqing Hall, full of anticipation and curiosity about what the Demon King contracted by Lu Chongqing would look like. Even though they were both well-seasoned and knowledgeable, they had never been up close with such a formidable demon king. Extract. Lu Chongsheng focused his mental spirit and looked at the Mount Sumeru Tree King in the system. The next moment, boom! A towering ancient tree, dozens of meters tall and remarkably robust, appeared. The ancient tree was entirely like gold and jade, with a brilliant luster flowing all over it. Its roots emanated strands of auspicious air, making it seem extremely sacred. The leaves of the tree crown were very peculiar. Some were dazzling gold, some transparent as jade, and some a rich green, diffusing a rich fragrance and divine light. With a gentle sway, it seemed like the chanting of Buddhist hymns arose, calming the heart and spirit of those who heard it. Upon the Mount Sumeru Tree King's appearance, auspicious air surged across the entire mountaintop like a vast ocean, almost filling the peak of Baiyun Peak and releasing strands of its vast aura. So this is the third-rank Tree King contracted by my lord, Chongsheng. Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xie were both full of wonder and amazement as they looked at the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Even though they didn't know exactly what type of tree demon it was, they could tell just by the appearance that it was no ordinary third-rank spirit plant. If someone told them it was some rare and ancient spirit plant of heaven and earth, they would believe it, because the appearance of the Mount Sumeru Tree King was simply too extraordinary. Master! A pure and ethereal voice spoke. The voice was soft, beautiful, lofty and ethereal, like a wistful celestial chant that could easily soothe the restlessness within one's heart and even prompt those full of sin to lay down their weapons in penance and sorrow. This call of Master made Lu Changsheng's spirit ripple gently. He hadn't expected the voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King to be so pleasant. If it took human form, he speculated that its appearance would likely be as attractive as its voice. Chapter 705. The Tree King emerges. Inside the cave heaven. He knew the Mount Sumeru Tree King was inquiring about whether he had made the decision to take root and settle down here. Given the current situation of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, it was able to move for short durations. Let's just do it here. The palace takes up too much space. You can take it directly into the Mount Sumeru space, but be careful not to damage the formation of the mountain. Lu Chongsheng pondered for a moment before speaking to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Having extracted the Mount Sumeru Tree King, he now had a detailed understanding of it. Third-rank early-stage cultivation level with a self-contained cave heaven within, nurturing its own expanse of the world. This world could accommodate people, objects, demon beasts, or used for cultivation, and more. Moreover, the Mount Sumeru Tree King could proactively bring people or items into the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. This was one of the skills of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. If enemies were encountered, it could suppress and imprison them within the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. After speaking, he pulled Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xie to the side. Yes, Master. The ethereal and pure voice rang out, and then a golden divine light descended, shining upon the Chongqing Hall. Suddenly, the vast palace disappeared right before the three of them, leaving only an empty space. My lord, does this revered Tree King possess void divine skills? Ling Zixiao asked Lu Chongqing. Exactly. Its name is Mount Sumeru. It has a world within it, nurturing a corner of the universe. We will be able to live directly within this cave heaven from now on, Lu Chongqing said aloud. Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xie looked at each other in silence. The shock that Lu Chongqing had given them today was simply too great. Previously, they had thought that the Tree King bound by contract with Lu Chongqing was just an ordinary third-rank demon king. But now that they had seen the Mount Sumeru Tree King, they realized their thoughts were too simplistic. Also, thinking about it, if Lu Chongqing valued it so greatly, and even used formations to conceal it, how could it be just an ordinary third-rank demon king? Nevertheless, Lu Chongqing had boldly revealed such a Tree King in front of them, making them feel trusted. After the Mount Sumeru Tree King had taken the Chongqing Hall into the Mount Sumeru space, it began to root itself at the top of Baiyun Peak. Crystalline and translucent golden roots, as thick as a barrel, burst forth with vibrant vitality and splendid luster, slowly penetrating into the mountain to draw upon the spiritual mechanism of the spirit vein in Baiyun Peak. After a long while, the Mount Sumeru Tree King had completed rooting. The crystalline radiance flowing on its body gradually retracted, standing on top of Baiyun Peak like a golden towering ancient tree. Mount Sumeru. Lu Chongsheng, with Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xie, approached the Mount Sumeru Tree King and called out. Swoosh! The next moment, a golden gate of light appeared before them. The three walked into the gate of light, passing through what felt like a layer of water curtain, entering the inner cave heaven of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Lu Chongxing surveyed the landscape within the cave heaven. Looking at its size, it was only a few square miles in area, with mountains, rivers, rocks, and trees, but it resembled a wasteland with only a solitary Chongqing Hall. At the heights above the cave heaven and at the ends all around, everything seemed a fuzzy gray, in a state yet to evolve. After all, the Mount Sumeru Tree King was only third rank. Although a world was self-contained within it, this world was still in the nurturing phase. Only with enough strength could it truly evolve into a small world. There was spiritual energy in the air, but it was very sparse, just slightly better than the secular world, not even comparable to a first-grade spirit vein. It seems some renovation is indeed in order, Lu Chongxing said, stroking his chin as he looked at the situation before him. Although it was habitable now, he thought the conditions were somewhat lacking. In the future, this would be his true core base, which of course had to be properly crafted. Master, please instruct. The voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King sounded gentle and pure, bringing peace to one's mental spirit. It indicated that it could expend energy to make some improvements to this piece of heaven and earth. Growing some grass and trees around the palace wouldn't take too much energy, right? Lu Chongxing asked the Mount Sumeru Tree King. He knew that whatever the Mount Sumeru Tree King wanted to do in the cave heaven would consume spiritual energy, even origin source. Yes, Master, the Mount Sumeru Tree King responded. In an instant, golden specks appeared from all sides, suffusing the area around Chongqing Hall with vitality, as green grass began to grow. This looks much more pleasing to the eye, Lu Chongxing commented, nodding his head. Then, with a slight movement of his mental spirit, he looked at the spiritual eye spring within his system space. Extract. Chapter 706. Companion Spirit Plant. Divine Wood Great Formation. _1 A water vat the size of a vase, bubbling forth with spring water, emanating pure spiritual energy, appeared before Lu Chongxing. This is the spiritual eye spring? Ling Zixiao exclaimed in shock upon seeing the spiritual eye spring before her. Spiritual eye spring. Xiao Xie's cold and stunningly beautiful face also showed a hint of surprise. Although the spiritual eye spring was not as staggering as a third-rank Tree King, it was still a rare treasure, coveted even by nascent soul immortals. After all, possessing a spiritual eye spring was tantamount to having a spirit vein with rich spiritual energy wherever one went. Indeed, it is the spiritual eye spring. The amount of spiritual energy required by Mount Sumeru is significant. If we rely solely on Baiyun Peak's spirit vein for sustenance, it will be far from sufficient. Therefore, placing this spiritual eye within the cave heaven can greatly alleviate the problem of insufficient spiritual energy. Lu Chongxing explained, looking at the spiritual eye spring before him. This was also his first time seeing what a spiritual eye spring looked like. He could distinctly feel that the water from the spiritual eye spring, like spiritual liquid, was crystal clear and resplendent, diffusing strands of pure spiritual energy throughout the heavens and earth. With this spiritual eye spring here, the issue with the Tree King's spiritual energy is indeed greatly relieved. Ling Zixiao said after a moment of silence. She had discussed the problem of the third-rank Tree King with Lu Chongxing before. At that time, she was curious about how Lu Chongxing would resolve it. She had never imagined that Lu Chongxing's solution would be so straightforward and forceful, placing a spiritual eye spring within the cave heaven. So this is the taste of the water from the spiritual eye spring. It's my first time tasting it. Ling Zixiao approached the spiritual eye spring, scooped up some water with her hand, and gently tasted it by her lips. She only felt a surge of pure spiritual energy spreading within her body. Hee hee. Lu Chongxing chuckled and also scooped up some water to taste. He found the taste mediocre, nothing particularly delicious. But such water, akin to spiritual liquid, transformed into pure spiritual energy as soon as it entered the stomach. "Shiyu, you try some," Lu Chongsheng said with a smile to Xiao Xie, who was standing aside. Upon hearing this, Xiao Xie stepped forward to lightly taste the spring water and spoke. "The taste is average, but the spiritual energy is very pure. Indeed, this effect of the spiritual energy would be excellent for wine brewing," Lu Chongsheng commented. Then he called out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. "Mount Sumeru, Master, please command me." The voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King echoed throughout the cave heaven. Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xie, hearing this voice as melodious as the sound of nature and seeing Mount Sumeru's respectful demeanor towards Lu Chongsheng, exchanged glances with each other, somewhat at a loss for words. If they hadn't known that this voice came from a third-rank tree king, they would have thought it was a little maidservant raised by Lu Chongsheng. "Dig a small pit here for me. I shall plant the spiritual eye spring," Lu Chongsheng instructed aloud. The spiritual eye spring could merge with the earth's veins, transforming into a true spiritual eye to nourish the abode. If one wishes to take it away, one simply needs to dig up the spiritual eye again. "Yes, Master," the Mount Sumeru Tree King replied. Instantly, a small pit appeared in front of Chongqing Hall. Lu Chongqing placed the spiritual eye spring into it. Soon, the spiritual eye spring slowly expanded, merging with the small pit, transforming into a small pond a zhang in size, continuously emitting thick and pure spiritual energy. In order to turn this place into a secret abode for daily cultivation, a single spiritual eye spring is not enough. We still need to acquire several more items related to the spiritual eye to create a spiritual vein here and elevate the spirit vein at Baiyun Peak. Lu Chongsheng assessed the situation, stroked his chin, and thought to himself. He then inquired about Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xie's ideas and suggestions for constructing and modifying this place. "Chongsheng, you could treat this place as a miniature cave heaven for development, such as cultivating spirit fields, medicinal gardens, and raising spiritual beasts here." Xiao Xie expressed some interest as she looked at the scene before her. In her view, this was Lu Changsheng's new home, and naturally, she wanted to contribute some ideas for its design. For now, the spiritual energy from Baiyun Peak and the spiritual eye spring is just enough to supply the cultivation needs of the few of us and Mount Sumeru. If we were to cultivate spirit fields and medicinal gardens, we could have at most first-grade soil, Lu Chongqing said. He also felt that this place was a perfect base for himself. He could confidently and freely use many core items in this world, such as the golden armor being mother, Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon. Moreover, it's very convenient to farm and fish in the cave heaven. With the Mount Sumeru Tree King as the lord of this world, as long as the power and nature's spiritual energy were sufficient, it could directly evolve second-grade soil and second-grade fishing grounds. There was no need to cultivate the spirit fields slowly as with other spirit vein lands, nurturing and sorting the earth's veins. Chongsheng, if you need spiritual origin pearls, the Qingyun sect should be able to exchange them. I will complete a few more tasks on my return, and the contribution should be enough to exchange for a spiritual origin pearl, Xiao Xie said softly. She had noticed that Bai Lake Mountain was currently under some strain regarding spiritual energy. "No worries, for now we're managing. When we truly need them, they'll let you know." Shiyu, Lu Chongqing felt warmed inside and held Xiao Xie's delicate hand. Speaking affectionately, Xiao Xie had already been delayed in her cultivation due to her pregnancy and the years spent accompanying Lu Wangshu. He had no intention of troubling her to undertake missions for the sake of a spiritual origin pearl, wasting her time. "My lord, I wonder aside from ruling over this cave heaven, what other divine skills does the esteemed Mount Sumeru possess? Earlier, you said that Mount Sumeru was also going to be stationed at Bai Lake Mountain, didn't you?" Ling Zixiao, observing the state of the cave heaven, pondered before asking Lu Chongsheng. "Abilities." Lu Chongsheng, hearing this, called out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. "Mount Sumeru, Master." The pure and ethereal voice of Mount Sumeru echoed through the heavens and the earth, beginning to introduce itself. It expressed that its innate talent was nurturing an entire world within its body, becoming its own cave heaven, ever creating and unceasing. Chapter 707. Chapter 707. It grew by evolving its own body domain and, through that body domain, nourished itself in turn to accelerate its growth. Apart from this body domain, it also possessed a divine skill, the Mount Sumeru Mandala Barrier. Once the barrier was activated, it could seal and suppress enemies. If it took action in the outside world, its combat power was at the early stage of the 3rd rank, with an attack range that could cover almost the entirety of By Lake Mountain. However, the greater the distance, the greater the consumption for it, and the lesser the power. If within this domain, it would be invincible at the 3rd rank. Even those at the peak of core formation could be sealed and suppressed. Beyond these 2 innate divine skills, it had another ability. It could cleanse a person's heart, bringing tranquility to their mental spirit, somewhat suppressing the effects of heart demons. This ability also extended to its entire being. For example, cultivating next to the Mount Sumeru Tree King or carrying one of its branches could partially aid in focusing the mind and calming the spirit. Mount Sumeru, can your branches and sprouts be planted and grown? Lu Changsheng's heart thumped at the mention of branches and sprouts, and he asked out loud. He knew that some tree branches, when freshly broken and still full of vitality, could be cultivated and revived by a spiritual plant master. If the branches of the Mount Sumeru Tree King could be planted and nurtured back to life, then he wouldn't have to worry about his wives' and children's future cultivation of the heaven and earth longevity technique. Master, unless a great amount of origin source vitality is consumed, ordinary branches and sprouts cannot rejuvenate. The Mount Sumeru Tree King spoke thus. It indicated that it could enable the branches to be planted and grown, but it would require a significant consumption of its live's origin source for nurturing. This branch had already become an accompanying spirit plant, a part of its life. Consume origin source vitality, accompanying spirit plant. Lu Chongqing nodded upon hearing this. He knew that the Mount Sumeru Tree King was capable of doing it, but the cost was too great. He did not ask further. He planned to wait until the Mount Sumeru Tree King's situation improved before considering whether to let it nurture an accompanying spirit plant. Zishao, what were you about to say just now? At this moment, Lu Chongqing looked at Ling Zishao and inquired. My lord, upon seeing the venerable Mount Sumeru, I thought of a great formation. Ling Zixiao's eyes, deep as autumn waters, were bright and full of spirit as she spoke. A great formation? Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow. Xiao Xie also looked curiously at Ling Zixiao. Through their time together, she knew Ling Zixiao to be an array master. Her understanding of formations was extremely profound, almost on par with Mo Shorin, the master they had invited before. Yes. Ling Zixiao wore a light smile, her voice crisp as she said, I have a 2nd-tier top-level formation called the Divine Wood Great Formation. It is laid out using living spirit plants, spiritual trees, and demon plants as the foundation and focal points of the formation. Seeing the venerable Mount Sumeru gave me an idea, to use it as the core and the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven as the main with the formation as support, creating a taboo formation comparable to a 3rd rank. A 3rd rank Great Formation requires a 3rd rank spirit vein to maintain operation, but with the venerable Mount Sumeru present, there's no need for the support of a 3rd rank spirit vein. Once the formation is complete, should danger arise, there's no need for the venerable Mount Sumeru to act, as we could directly activate the formation and pull the enemy into its cave heaven. Once they enter the cave heaven, the venerable Mount Sumeru can directly suppress the enemies without causing any disturbance externally. Ling Zixiao spoke with a bright gaze and vibrant spirit. She was aware that once the Mount Sumeru Tree King took action, it could potentially make a significant commotion. If it was turned into a formation, not only would there be an additional level of concealment, but the level of By Lake Mountain's Great Formation would also rise another notch. Moreover, as an array master, she wanted to realize her own ideas and formations. Like the Divine Wood Great Formation, she had only ever laid out a weakened version of the 2nd rank lower tier. She had never set up a 2nd-tier top-level Divine Wood Great Formation. Now, upon seeing the Mount Sumeru Tree King, she aspired to use such a distinguished 3rd-rank Tree King as the core focus of the Divine Wood Great Formation, and her heart was filled with immense expectation and desire to attempt it. The Divine Wood Great Formation, a 3rd-rank taboo formation? Lu Changsheng's eyebrows raised upon hearing this. He knew the difference between second-rank formations and third-rank was like heaven and earth. A third-rank great formation, known as a taboo formation, was self-contained, without weaknesses or flaws, and not comparable to any second-rank formation. Unexpectedly, Ling Zixiao claimed she could lay out a formation comparable to a third-rank taboo formation. Zixiao, is this divine would great formation troublesome, and will setting it up affect Mount Sumeru? Lu Chongqing inquired of Ling Zixiao. Extremely troublesome. First, Mount Sumeru must be the core when laying out the divine wood great formation. Then, through nested formations overlaying method, it must be connected with the Bai Shui Qing Tian Great Formation of Bai Lake Mountain. If the Great Formation is inactive on normal days, it will continue to appear to others as the current Bai Shui Qing Tian Great Formation. Once the Divine Wood Great Formation is activated, it will transform into the near third-rank Divine Wood Great Formation and catch people off guard. However, the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation and the Oceanic Grand Formation of Bai Shui Lake are currently overlaid and still not perfected. If we now attempt to connect with the Divine Wood Great Formation, some problems will arise during the process, so I am not 100% sure of success. But this Divine Wood Great Formation will not affect the venerable Mount Sumeru. If there is any impact during the process, we can stop at any time. Ling Zixiao said excitedly, her bright, beautiful eyes sparkling with expectation of the challenge. Being able to reach this stage on the formation path, aside from her exceptional talent, arose from her constant pursuit of breakthroughs and self-challenges. On normal days, showing the Bai Shui Tian Qing Great Formation to others, and once the Divine Wood Great Formation is activated, it becomes a third-rank Great Formation. Lu Chongqing pondered for a moment before calling out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru will follow Master's arrangements. The voice of Mount Sumeru was still so ethereal and pure, bringing tranquility to one's spirit. Chapter 708. Chapter 708. Good. Since that's the case, well, do as you suggest, Zixiao. However, your body has not yet recovered, so don't push yourself. The formation can wait, there's no need to rush. If the setup process involves anything related to Mount Sumeru, you can communicate directly with it. Lu Chongqing spoke to Ling Zixiao. He knew that setting up a great formation was extremely draining on one's mental spirit and energy. Ling Zixiao had just finished setting up the inverted 5 elements formation. Now she was about to set up an even more complex and troublesome Divine Wood Great Formation, which made him worry about her health. However, from the desire he saw in her beautiful eyes, he didn't want to disappoint her. Thank you, my lord. I will take care of myself, said Ling Zixiao, her elegant face breaking into a charming smile. Shiyu, Zixiao. Now that we have Mount Sumeru supporting us, I leave the family affairs in your hands. I will be heading to Red Leaf Valley Market to oversee things for a while to prevent any danger to Qingzhou Mountain or the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Chongqing said. Although the specifics of the robber cultivator's incident were still unclear, he planned to stay at the Red Leaf Valley Market for a while in case anything unexpected occurred. My lord, rest assured. All right, Chongqing, don't worry. The two women responded upon hearing this. Then Lu Chongqing mentioned his trip to the Red Leaf Valley Market to Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Jinjin. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaohuan expressed a desire to visit Qingzhou Mountain and take a stroll through the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Chongqing did not object and agreed to take her along the next day. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market was not far from Bai Shui Lake, and he needed to return periodically to treat Ling Zixiao's condition, especially now that she was setting up a great formation and he needed to pay even closer attention to her health. That night, Lu Chongqing treated Ling Zixiao throughout the night, and the next day he took Lu Miaohuan to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Due to the robber cultivator's incident, the Red Leaf Valley Market had seen a slight decline in foot traffic. However, the market had been struggling for the last decade. 10 years ago, a hard-won auction held by the 4 major families boosted name recognition and traffic, but a subsequent robbery by cultivators wiped out all those efforts. And over the past decade, incidents involving the demon path and the family's internal struggles meant the market's reputation suffered, and few loose cultivators visited. After all, when loose cultivators look for a marketplace to settle down, they generally prefer well-established and stable ones. Despite offering many favorable policies to loose cultivators, the Red Leaf Valley market still lacked competitiveness. Now, with some time to spare, upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley market, Lu Chongsheng took Lu Miaohuan to inspect the family's properties and review the situation. The talisman shops and the fishing stores were currently doing well. The puppet shop had opened a month ago but had little business so far. Lu Chongsheng knew that such things required time to gain a reputation, so more customers would come as the name and quality became recognized. After all, the Red Leaf Valley market was only so big, and most loose cultivators belonged to the lower levels of the cultivation world, so asking them to spend 200 spirit stones on a puppet was somewhat difficult. After staying in the Red Leaf Valley for 10 days, Lu Chongsheng took Lu Miaohuan back to Qingzhou Mountain and then returned to Bai Shui Lake to treat Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao also presented Lu Chongsheng with a formation diagram to look over. She said she had reorganized and adjusted the formation setup of Bai Shui Lake during this time. The oceanic bead formation set with 36 oceanic beads in Bai Shui Lake was no longer linked to the heavenly azure of Bai Shui formation. As an auxiliary formation on its own, it nurtures the spirit vein fishes and shrimp in the lake, promoting the rapid advancement of the lake's spirit vein to the second rank. Using the principle that water nourishes wood, the spiritual vein of Bai Shui Lake was connected to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Once the great formation was established, it could harness the spiritual energy of the spiritual vein of Bai Shui Lake to nurture the Mount Sumeru Tree King. What's more, the hazy mist over the waters could further conceal the condition of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. As for the Bai Shui Tianqing Great Formation and the Divine Wood Great Formation, those remain unchanged. Under normal circumstances, the Great Formation will still be the Bai Shui Tianqing Great Formation, with the inner core being the Divine Wood Great Formation, both of which can be switched via the Mount Sumeru Tree King. This is something you can handle yourself, Lu Chongsheng said with a smile. He did not understand formations, but he believed in Ling Zixiao. Besides, if there were any issues with the Divine Wood Great Formation, the Mount Sumeru Tree King would detect and sense them. After treating Ling Zixiao, Lu Chongsheng spent some time with his wives and children, then returned to Qingzhou Mountain to preside over the Red Leaf Valley market. Thinking back to when the elder ancestor of the Su family had asked him to craft a mystical frost talisman for Su Ruyan, Lu Chongsheng thought it had been almost 3 months. He immediately drew 2 mystical frost talismans and had the people from Zheng family at Red Leaf Valley Market notify Su Renguang. Meanwhile, 9 Dragons Market, in a small courtyard. Big brother, all 4 families have kept their doors closed, and even when they go out, they cover their tracks. I think there's no need to delay any longer. We should take care of them soon and avenge our 5th brother. A middle-aged man with a fair face and a soft, sinister look said. Indeed, the 4 families combined have only 5 individuals at foundation establishment, and they're all just straw bag cultivators at the early stage of foundation establishment. Aside from Lu Chongsheng, who possesses a legacy of talisman formations, the others are not worth mentioning. A bald man with a rough face and a scar on his head said with a vicious laugh. Second brother, I've investigated, and although Wugong Ridgeshing family doesn't have a foundation establishment cultivator, they have invited a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator from Yushui Su family to guard the place. Tao Xiaolan, who was dressed in a peach-colored gown, spoke up. Just a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Moreover, this Su family cultivator may not even wish to get involved in this mess. The bald man scoffed, clearly undervaluing the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Indeed, there's nothing worth dithering over. I see our 5th brother is also getting impatient these days. Has there been any movement from Qingyun's sect during this time? The red-robed big man sitting at the head of the table asked nonchalantly. Qingyun's sect has no time to worry about such matters. The beast tide has just ended. They must be busy. The fair-faced, dark-browed, middle-aged man snorted with disdain. Well then, let's make it 5 days from now. It's a good day for killing, the red-robed man said with a sneer upon hearing this. Thank you, big brother. Fang Ye's eyes lit up with joy as he got up and bowed his thanks. After returning to Qingyun region, the seed of hatred in his heart had quickly sprouted, anxiously wanting to exact revenge. Throughout these days, this seed of hatred had grown into a towering tree, causing images of his parents' tragic deaths to frequently flash across his mind. He knew that for these 10 years, hatred had been the driving force propelling him forward, becoming his obsession, his heart demon. He must use this hatred to unravel the obsessions in his heart. Heh. In that case, 5 days from now, I will join our fifth brother in warming them up. Once people from all 4 families gather, big brother and second brother can make their move, allowing our fifth brother to take his revenge joyfully. The slender and shadowy figure in a black robe cackled with laughter. Chapter 709. Ancient Relic Site. Robber Cultivator Causes Chaos. _1 Red Leaf Valley Marketplace. The Liu family's spiritual talisman shop at by Lake Mountain. Taoist Su, I must apologize. During this time, I have only managed to draw 2 mystical frost talismans. Lu Chongxing looked at the Su Renguang before him and bowed slightly, his voice tinged with a hint of embarrassment. 2. Su Renguang's eyes brightened at these words, his face revealing a delighted surprise. After all, in his opinion, the fact that Lu Chongxing could draw a mystical frost talisman was already a surprise. He hadn't expected Lu Chongxing to actually draw 2. This gave him a clear recognition of Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill and innate talent for the talisman path. He took out a gift box from his storage bag and said politely, "Thank you for the trouble, Lu Taoist. My Su family owes you a favor." Even though second-rank talismans could still be bought on the market, it was very difficult to purchase niche superior second-rank spirit talismans like the mystical frost talisman. Since the other party was willing to help with talisman making, he naturally wanted to show his appreciation properly. Taoist Su is too polite. I just happen to have a favor to ask of you. Does your noble family breed any aquatic demon beasts with dragon blood in them? Lu Chongxing received the gift box and spoke with a smile. He was willing to help the other party draw talismans because of the face of the beast-taming Su family. He was thinking of getting some high-quality aquatic dragon-blooded demon beasts through Su Renguang to refine the Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon. Although during this time, he had already learned of several aquatic demon beasts capable of being refined into the Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon, the quality of these beasts was somewhat lacking. To refine them into spirit weapons and nurture them would consume more time and resources. If he could obtain high-grade, dragon blood-rich aquatic demon beasts and refine them into Blackwater Jiao Dragon spirit weapons, then the nurturing process would be much simpler. Lu Chongxing was even looking forward to directly drawing a flood dragon through the system lottery. If so, he could refine it into a Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon and use this as a leader to cultivate other Dao soldiers. Since like attracts like the bathwater and even a splash of urine from this flood dragon spirit weapon would benefit the other Dao soldiers and aquatic demon beasts. Aquatic demon beasts containing dragon blood? After hearing this, Su Renguang fell into deep thought and said, "May I ask what the Mountain Lord needs them for, and how many do you require?" The scarlet blood carps and azure blood carps of my by Lake Mountain contain some dragon blood. Do they not? I have obtained a breeding heritage and wish to improve the environment through aquatic dragon-blooded demon beasts to promote the growth of these 2 types of carps. Therefore, as for those beasts, the more, the merrier, and the stronger, the better. Lu Chongxing explained nonchalantly. Improve the ecology? Su Renguang nodded slightly at these words, without asking any further, and then spoke. Mountain Lord should also know that such beasts are difficult to nurture. As of now, my Su family has green-horned fish with mid-grade inferior bloodlines and ink jade serpents with mid-grade superior bloodlines. Both are aquatic demon beasts with a trace of dragon blood. For instance, when nurtured to second rank, green-horned fish become green-horned dragon fish. Ink jade serpents become ink jade flood serpents. If the Mountain Lord is in need, my Su family can sell 10 of each, green-horned fish and ink jade serpents, Su Renguang said. In the cultivation world, no one liked to owe favors. Therefore, he was also willing to sell a few beasts to Lu Chongxing to clear the debt of the talisman favor. Only mid-grade inferior and superior. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongxing felt somewhat disappointed, but a mid-grade bloodline beast was still acceptable. He bowed and responded, "If that's the case, I thank Taoist Su. As for the price of these 2 types of beasts, just sell them to me at the normal rate. Of course, the stronger they are, the better." Lu Changsheng's face showed a smile as he spoke. In terms of price, it will be calculated based on the strength of the demon beasts. For example, a first-grade initial phase green-horned fish normally costs 150 spirit stones, a mid-phase one, for 120, and a late-phase one, 1,500. If that's what the Mountain Lord needs, how about all prices at a 60% discount? Su Renguang offered, full of sincerity. In that case, thank you very much, Taoist Su, Lu Chongqing said with a bow and a smile. He purchased 10 green-horned fish and 10 ink jade serpents from Su Renguang. They included 1 late-phase first grade, 2 mid-phase first grade, and 7 initial phase first grade. As for second-rank demon beasts, the Su family would not sell them to the public. Or rather, the Yu Shui Su family did not even have many second-rank demon beasts to sell. The spirit stones can wait until after everything is settled. I will arrange for them when I return to the family, Su Renguang said aloud. All right, I'll trouble Taoist Su with that, Lu Chongqing replied with a smile. Su Renguang then bade farewell and left. Green-horned fish, ink jade serpent. Lu Chongqing murmured to himself, feeling somewhat expectant of the effects these two beasts would have when refined into Dao soldiers. Moreover, buying these beasts at a 60% discount meant that even if the results weren't ideal, he wouldn't stand to lose much. That night, the heavens were as dark as ink. Red Leaf Valley Marketplace was silent. At this time, in a small courtyard with bright lights, 5 men and 1 woman looked out at the night sky, chatting casually in the main hall. Hee, our 5th brother is getting impatient, said the man in the red robe sitting at the head seat, noticing the restless and occasionally fierce-looking Fang Yu, and then he addressed the others. Since that's the case, 3rd brother, 4th brother, Shaolon, you all go with the 5th brother. Yes, big brother. The few of them nodded in response. 5th brother, I'll take care of the great formation of the Red Leaf Valley Market. You can do as you please with the others. The middle-aged man with a gentle jade-like complexion and a sinister expression offered. Kek 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 kek, 5th brother. However you want to do it tonight, your 4th brother will follow. The thin, gloomy-looking elder laughed eerily. Chapter 710. Ancient Relic Site, Robber Cultivator Causes Chaos. Brother Yu, Tao Xiaolan, standing beside Fang Yu, said this as she held his hand. Okay. Thank you for the trouble, brothers. Fang Yu held his partner's hand, looked towards the old man and the man in red robes among others, took a deep breath and nodded vigorously. His eyes were then dark as ink, and his brows filled with ferocity. His ability to become brothers with those 4 men was a testament to his extraordinary strength, having once gained a great opportunity. Little 5th is too polite. I, as 3rd brother, will head over first. Once the great formation is activated, you can make your move. The middle-aged man with a jade-like complexion and gentle brows patted Fang Yu on the shoulder. Then, with a folding fan in hand, he flew towards the gate of the Red Leaf Valley Market. 4th brother, Xiaolin, let's start from gathering immortals in, Fang Yu said in a cold voice. 10 years ago, it was from gathering immortals in that he and his parents had begun to plunder the marketplace. Now, he was about to face the events of 10 years prior and relive those moments. However, the difference was, back then, both his parents had lost their lives in the Red Leaf Valley Market. But tonight, he intended to massacre the Red Leaf Valley Market and destroy the 4 great families. After saying this, Fang Yu, Tao Xiaolan, and the old man left. I hope after we've avenged this lad, Hell be willing to bring out the map and the token for the ancient relic site in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Looking at the departing Fang Yu and others, a burly man with a scarred head drank deeply from a jug. This shouldn't be a problem. Xiao Tao said Fang Yu's loyalty is almost secured. As long as the great revenge is settled, with the bond of brotherhood, he won't forget us few when he explores the ancient relic site. And given the danger of exploring that site alone with his strength, he would certainly require assistance. The man in red robes also took large swigs from his jug. Traveling all across the land, pillaging and plundering, they naturally weren't bound by brotherly affection but rather by shared interests. After all, how much is brotherly love worth? The reason they had traveled far, from Myriad Beasts Mountain Range and Azure Phoenix Immortal City to the Qingyun region, was to avenge their little brother but with an ulterior motive. The moon was hazy, and all was silent. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous and earth-shattering noise erupted in the Red Leaf Valley Market. Under the night sky, the second-rank Great Formation of the marketplace, Heavenly Cloud and Water Formation, was enveloped in spiritual light, alternately bright and dark, as clouds and mist rolled turbulently. 7 deadly wolf smoke gourds. Standing in front of gathering immortals in, Fang Yu saw the scene unfold and spoke fiercely. A dark green gourd appeared in his hand, with dark light flowing over it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! A terrifying black mist erupted from the gourd like wolf smoke, rising into the sky and forming 7 black columns of smoke that seemed to pierce through heaven and earth. Kill! Fang Yu, looking at gathering immortals in formed hand seals. Immediately, the 7 columns of wolf smoke merged into a massive and terrifying human face that devoured the inn. Not good. It's an enemy attack, enemy attack. Quickly inform the ancestor. How dare these bandit cultivators cause chaos in our Red Leaf Valley market? The patrolling cultivators in the market saw this and immediately yelled, pulling the alarm and activating the market's great formation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! The previously indifferent clouds covering the market started to gather quickly, becoming dense along with the flowing spiritual light, forming a Sai and Jade bowl. However, at that moment, horrifying forces bombarded the Sai and Jade bowl, causing the glazed surface to shatter like porcelain with dense web-like cracks. At the same time, inside a simple and elegant cave dwelling, Lu Chongsheng, Lu Miaoge, and Lu Miaohuan, who had just fallen asleep, woke up. Is someone attacking the market's great formation? Lu Miaoge held a token and an array plate in her hands. The light on them fluctuated, pulsing with spiritual light. She immediately manipulated the array plate, powering the Red Leaf Valley market's great formation with all its might. Then she put on the snow-white gauze skirt, stockings, undergarments, and a chest piece embroidered with clouds and water, while her black hair was simply gathered and draped over her fragrant shoulders. Now that she was in charge of the Red Leaf Valley market, she naturally had to deal with such matters immediately. Could it be the robber cultivator who brought the bell before? Lu Chongxing furrowed his brows and said aloud. He did not hesitate or delay. He immediately got up, dressed, and said to Lu Miaohuan, Huan, you stay inside the cave and do not go out. Sister Miaoge and I will go take a look. Okay. Lu Chongxing, sister, be careful. Lu Miaohuan replied with a light pursing of her lips. She knew that with her 7th level energy refinement cultivation level, she wouldn't be of much help if she went out now. It was in times like these that she felt the lack of her own strength. Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge left the cave abode. Boom, boom, boom. Dash. They immediately saw countless rays of spiritual light bombarding the heavenly cloud and water formation above the Red Leaf Valley market. This caused the entire great formation to surge with spiritual light, which flickered on and off in the night sky, accompanied by muffled thunderous sounds, eerie and astonishing. Over in the commercial district, a gigantic and ferocious black face was howling and roaring. The scene before him made Lu Chongxing feel a sense of déjà vu. It looks like it is most likely that robber cultivator who sent the bell before. Seeing this, Lu Chongxing said with a cold expression. Without saying more, he and Lu Miaoge turned into beams of escape light and flew towards the commotion. Back 10 years ago, the indiscriminate looting by a robber cultivator caused the Red Leaf Valley market to be greatly weakened, and it still hadn't fully recovered. Furthermore, afterwards, the 4 big families had to make quite a lot of compensation to the many merchants and powers that had settled in. Seeing this kind of trouble now, they naturally had to suppress and resolve it immediately. Otherwise, if things got out of hand, the Red Leaf Valley market might truly be ruined, and they could only rely on it as a spiritual land to make money. What's going on? Is someone attacking the market's great formation? Damn it. I knew I shouldn't have come to the Red Leaf Valley market for some small benefits. It's over, it's over. With only the Lu family ancestor, Lu Miaoge, presiding over Qingzhou Mountain section of the market, and she has only just broken through to foundation establishment, Now with the robber cultivators causing trouble, they must be well prepared. This Red Leaf Valley market has barely been open for more than 10 years, and already so many problems have arisen. Indeed, one cannot rely on a small market. I wonder if the Lord of By Lake Mountain, who suppressed 3 foundation establishment cultivators by himself, will come. With the disturbance in the Great Formation and the commercial district, many cultivators awoke from their sleep or meditation, looking at the situation beneath the night sky with panic on their faces. After all, relative to others, the Red Leaf Valley market was just a small market, and most of the loose cultivators that came here were lower ranked. At the same time, some cultivators looked at the situation with greed, ferocity, and hesitance in their eyes. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 beams of escape light arrived above the commercial district. Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge immediately saw a thin old man, a black-robed young man, and a woman in a pink skirt wrecking the shops of the market and slaughtering the cultivators in the inns. Foundation Establishment 5th level, Foundation Establishment 2nd level, 9th level energy refinement. Lu Changsheng's divine sense was comparable to the peak of Foundation Establishment, and he saw the cultivation levels of the 3 people at a glance. Seeing their cultivation strength, his brows slightly furrowed, puzzled where these 3 got the courage to cause trouble. And they even dared to carry out such a brainless act as sending the bell. But looking up at the flickering Great Formation above, he knew there were Foundation Establishment cultivators hidden in the shadows. He immediately said to Lu Miaoge, "Sister Miaoge, that black-robed young man is of 2nd level Foundation Establishment. You handle him, leave that old man to me." 2 Foundation Establishments? Fang Yu and his companions were surprised and puzzled upon seeing Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge arrive. After all, according to the information he had, there was only 1 Foundation Establishment cultivator, Lu Miaoge, presiding over the Red Leaf Valley market. But with the backing of his elder brothers, he wasn't afraid at all, and as malevolence surged between his brows, his hands formed a seal and he shouted, "7 evils wolf smoke, strike! A woo, dash!" The terrifying black smoke face in the air that was destroying buildings emitted a ghostly, wolf-like screech, charging at Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge. River of Qi, break! In Lu Miaoge's hands appeared a blue crossbow, with water-like ripples flowing through it. Channeling mana, she fired swoosh, 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 towards the ferocious wolf smoke in the air. Strike! Lu Chongsheng also did not hesitate, summoning a low-grade spiritual sword. The spiritual sword let out a clear ring, releasing a sharp sword rainbow that sliced through the air, heading straight towards the thin old man. Chapter 711. With Lu Mountain Lord here, tonight will be settled. Underscore 1. Lu Miaoge's river arrow crossbow flashed wildly in her hand, surging with azure brilliance, piercing and scattering the black smoky faces in the night sky. But the black smoke was extremely dense. As soon as it dispersed, it reconverged and continued to attack Lu Miaoge. Ice Seal Talisman. Seeing this scene, Lu Miaoge's expression tightened. Knowing the river arrow crossbow alone couldn't defeat the opponent, she took out a 2nd-rank Ice Seal Talisman, and immediately, a chill engulfed the area, sweeping towards the black smoky face in an attempt to freeze it solid. Facing the Ice Seal Talisman, the black smoky face developed patches of frost, appearing sluggish and stiff. Water Dragon Technique. True water into dragon. Seeing this, Lu Miaoge immediately formed hand seals and cast an advanced level spell from the Water of Virtue technique. Mana from within her body and the surrounding spiritual energy converged and flowed, causing a mist of water to swirl above her head, gradually forming into a lifelike, vivid miniature water dragon. Xiaolan, move back! On the other side, the gaunt old man faced the flying sword sent by Lu Chongsheng, his voice hoarse and piercing. Amid his words, 2 black chains shot out from the sleeves with the liveliness of black snakes hissing with their tongues. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 black chains, like giant pythons, intertwined around the flying sword, attempting to strangle it. Clang! The black chains collided with the flying sword, emitting a sound of metal striking metal. Immediately after, the chains wrapped tightly around the flying sword like dark spirit snakes, producing a sharp and grating crack noise. Somewhat capable. Lu Chongsheng chuckled lightly, recognizing that the gaunt old man was no slouch. He slapped his spiritual beast pouch and released his six-winged golden silkworm. Now that the six-winged golden silkworm had advanced to the second rank, he wanted to see the specific combat power of this spiritual insect. After all, if he could resolve the battle this easily, he would expose too much of his own strength, especially the various techniques of a sword cultivator. Back when he made his move in the Red Leaf Valley Market, he used the techniques of the 7 luminary sword scripture to kill 2 robber cultivators. If he were to use the shimmering shadow condensation sword techniques now, he would undoubtedly be recognized as the sword cultivator from back then, which would cause trouble. Whoosh! No sooner had the 6-winged golden silkworm appeared than its wings flapped, turning into a bloodthirsty, brilliant golden light that fiercely shot toward the gaunt old man. What is this? Facing the golden light, the gaunt old man's eyes narrowed slightly, a sense of foreboding rising in his heart. He did not dare to be careless and quickly formed a spell to raise a dark green shield. From the dark green shield, a green light barrier emerged, enveloping both the gaunt old man and Tao Xiaolan. Bang! A loud collision sounded. The 6-winged golden silkworm rammed directly into the dark green shield, causing a slight dent in it. Hiss! Such a hard body. What kind of spiritual insect is this? Seeing this scene, the gaunt old man looked at the 6-winged golden silkworm and his eyelids twitched again. He immediately formed seals with his hands and sent a chain slashing towards the 6-winged golden silkworm. After this collision, the 6-winged golden silkworm was clearly angered. It utterly ignored the black chains and continued to surge with radiant golden light, swelling to the size of a small cauldron, and continued to slam fiercely against the dark green shield. Indeed, slay! Lu Chongxing witnessed the scene, nodded slightly, and then brought his fingers together, pointing at his spiritual artifact. Humming, 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 the spiritual sword entangled by the black chains immediately began to tremble violently, releasing sharp sword chi that tore through the air and charged towards the emaciated elder. This is bad. Seeing this, the emaciated elder conjured a white long banner in his hands and formed hand seals, from which trails of white mist emerged, transforming into walls of white fog. At the same time, the little water dragon above Lu Maiage's head took shape. One could see the water dragon rapidly growing to the naked eye, turning into a majestic water dragon with prominent horns and glistening blue scales, emanating holy and dignified aura. Water dragons chant. Lu Miaoga formed hand seals, her aura as gentle as water. Roar! In an instant, the water dragon roared towards the heavens, unleashing a majestic and vast surge of chi, emitting a long and profound dragon chant. The dragon chant, composed of what seemed like thousands of notes, rolled forward like a torrent, forming hurricanes that swept towards the black smoke creature's face. Puff, puff, puff. The black smoke face, formed by the 7 Sha wolfsbane smoke, was continuously sliced, torn, and dispersed by the dragon chant hurricanes, scattering into disarray. How is this possible? Fang Yu was astonished by this spectacle. It was known that his 7 Sha wolfsbane gourd was an exceedingly formidable spiritual artifact. When he had just made breakthrough in Foundation establishment, he relied on this gourd to escape from the hands of a middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Yet now, Lu Miaoga managed to break through his 7 Sha wolfsbane smoke with a single spell. 7 Sha wolfsbane, echo of the celestial wolf. Fang Ye's eyes glinted fiercely as he formed hand seals, mana surging as he tried to recondense the dispersed wolfsbane smoke, attempting to transform it into a 7 Sha celestial wolf. Water dragon technique. Shatter. Lu Miaoga formed hand seals, causing the water dragon in the sky to roar and lunge with bared fangs and claws, directly tearing the condensing black smoke to shreds. The water dragon's body was glistening, and waves of deep blue water chi undulated, evaporating and refining much of the black wolf smoke. Howl, howl, howl. As the wolf smoke was being refined and evaporated by the water dragon, Echoes of ghostly cries and wolf howls arose. Well done. Lu Chongqing revealed a smile on his face upon seeing this. Although he had a general idea of Lu Miage's strength, he was not truly clear about her combat prowess. Through the water dragon technique she displayed, he gained a clearer understanding. 7 luminaries sword chi. Kill. He continued watching his own opponent, the emaciated elder. Inside his dantian, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp flickered as countless strands of sword chi burst forth from his palm, turning into fine and sharp threads of sword chi heading towards the emaciated elder. Faced with such a ferocious onslaught, the emaciated elder had no choice but to defend with the dark green little shield and the white long banner. Chapter 7:12. With Lu Mountain Lord here, tonight will be settled. Damn it! Didn't she just have her breakthrough in foundation establishment recently? And how could a minor family's foundation establishment have such strength? Fang Ye's face turned dark and ugly. He didn't expect that not only was his 7-kill wolf smoke broken, but this spiritual artifact was about to be destroyed here as well. Looking to the side, he noticed that his 4th brother was being suppressed by Lu Chongqing, only managing to continuously defend himself, causing Fang Ye's face to grow even uglier. He had come here with a condescending attitude, intending to seek retribution as if it were a game. But now that retribution had just started, they were the ones being suppressed, filling him with suffocating anger. He felt like a jumping clown. Xiaolan, send a message to Big Brother and Second Brother. Fang Yu transmitted his voice to Tao Xiaolan. Though he was frustrated and angry, he knew that in this situation, one could not afford to be prideful to death. Even though he still had a trump card, the current Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge were clearly not simple and likely had other means at their disposal. Yes, Brother Yu. Tao Xiaolan had long noticed that their side was at a disadvantage and wanted to send a message for help. But considering her partner's feelings and the instructions from the big brother before, she didn't immediately send the message. Is this calling for reinforcements? Lu Chongqing, with his keen divine sense, noticed Fang Yu passing a message to Tao Xiaolan. Though he couldn't hear the content of their transmission, seeing Tao Xiaolan take out a communication talisman, he roughly guessed that the other party was calling for people. Sister Miaoge, let's make this quick. Lu Chongqing then transmitted a message to Lu Miaoge. Alright. Lu Miaoge, upon hearing this, didn't hesitate and formed seals with her hands, saying, Water Dragon Technique, sword chi like water. In an instant, a water dragon roared, bursting forth with piercing sword chi, aiming straight for Fang Yu. Her Water of Virtue technique, enhanced by Lu Changsheng's Tai Dao seed, also gained a technique that allowed water to transform into sword chi. Then she slapped her storage bag and took out a 2nd-rank supreme talisman given to her by Lu Chongqing. It's a pity I used the 7 luminaries heart lamp and Truyong 5 elements sword in the middle of the marketplace at Red Leaf Valley, making it inconvenient to use now. Otherwise, I wouldn't need to waste talismans. Lu Chongqing sighed as he looked at the gaunt old man. Then he took out 3 2nd-rank talismans and struck the gaunt old man with them. Meanwhile, in a small courtyard, a man in a red robe and a bald man watched the battlefield situation. These two are not simple at all. Not only is Lu Changsheng's strength astonishing, he also has a 2nd-rank spiritual pet. The inheritance he acquired is definitely not just about the talisman path. That last two, Fang Yu wielding the 7-kill wolf smoke gourd, could match a foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator. But now he can't even beat this little girl. The bald man rubbed the scar on his head and spoke. Their combat power is indeed not simple. If you said they were disciples of the Immortal sex, I'd believe it. They don't at all look like the trash foundation establishment from a minor family, the man in the red robe said. As he spoke, a jade talisman in his hand flickered on and off. Oh, they're already calling for help. The man in the red robe sneered. Since Fang Yu doesn't want to play anymore, then let's take action. These two must have encountered great fortune. If we capture them, our trip here will also yield a great harvest. Fang Yu really has quite the fortune and luck, the bald man sneered. Initially getting an inheritance from a nascent soul immortal's cave, And now we come here and stumble upon such a great opportunity. Ha ha ha. Indeed, the kid is truly a lucky star. The two laughed heartily and then soared into the sky, turning into streaks of light flying towards the marketplace. SSSS, this Lu family ancestor of Qingzhou Mountain is pretty formidable. I heard she only broke through Foundation establishment a few years ago, yet she already has such combat power. Not just her. The Bai Lake Mountain Master also broke through Foundation establishment just a few years ago. I heard before that Bai Lake Mountain Master relied on a talisman formation to kill 3 Foundation establishment cultivators. I thought his combat power depended entirely on talismans. Didn't expect his spell-fighting ability to be so extraordinary too. Exactly, with Mountain Master Lu here, we're set for tonight. In the marketplace, many people watched the battle situation on the main street from a distance. They didn't dare to approach but could still see the general state of affairs. Seeing Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge clearly having the advantage put their minds at ease. Wait, what's this situation? Why are there 2 more foundation-building great cultivators? Just then, someone suddenly noticed 2 streaks of light appearing, flying towards the main street. Those 2 wouldn't happen to be robber cultivators too, would they? Most likely. Does that mean this group of robbers has 4 foundation-building great cultivators? No, there are also robber cultivators interfering with the marketplace's great formation. No wonder they dared to make a direct move on the marketplace. It's all over. I hope Mountain Master Lu can still set up a talisman formation and suppress the robbers. Many cultivators saw 2 escape lights hurtling towards the bustling marketplace, their hearts suddenly sinking. After all, aside from the 4 big families arranging Foundation establishment cultivators to be stationed, there were no other Foundation establishment cultivators residing in Red Leaf Valley Market. Now, with the sudden appearance of 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, it was clear they were up to no good, most likely allies of the robbers. In the marketplace, 9 out of 10 people had never seen a Foundation establishment cultivator before. Tonight, seeing so many all at once had left many feeling bewildered. At that moment in the commercial district, boom, 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 Lu Chongqing unleashed a thunderfire infatuation talisman, turning it into endless thunder and earth fire, attacking the gaunt old man. Facing such a terrifying offensive, the gaunt old man was in deep trouble. He had not expected that someone who had broken through Foundation establishment just a few years ago would have such fierce combat power along with second-rank supreme talismans, hardly inferior to the true transmission of immortal sex. He exerted all his strength to activate his dark green shield, forming a dark green light cover. A white long banner by his side fluttered loudly, as white mist billowed and spread continuously, forming multiple barriers all around. Chapter 713. With Lu Mountain Lord here, tonight will be settled. Brother Yu. Tao Xiaolin hid behind the elder, shivering and praying for her older brothers to come quickly. Damn! Seeing this scene, Fang Ye's face turned extremely ugly. Watching the rolling thunder and earth fire, he clenched his teeth and took out a chunky crimson-yellow talisman. Activated by mana, the talisman burst forth with a fierce and surging presence. That's a talisman treasure, Sister Miaoge. Be careful. Lu Chongqing, seeing this scene, immediately raised his voice to warn her. He thought to himself that Fang Yu really had some fortune to possess even a talisman treasure. Without hesitation, he then threw out 2 more Thunderfire talismans, trying to suppress and kill the emaciated elder and Fang Yu. Just then, he suddenly sensed 2 streams of energy shooting towards them. Foundation establishment late stage. 2 of them? Lu Chongqing turned his head to look, his expression turning grim. He hadn't expected that this group of robber cultivators hid so well, having 2 Foundation establishment late stage cultivators. No wonder they dared to pull off such an arrogant and childish stunt like sending a bell as a challenge. Because they truly had the power and confidence to do so. It seems I can't spare my talismans today. I hope you don't disappoint me and make me suffer a loss. Lu Chongqing murmured to himself, activating the 2 Thunderfire talismans in his hand, unleashing endless thunder and earth fire that surged and rolled towards Fang Yu and the emaciated elder. Boom, boom, boom. Facing such a tumultuous onslaught, The emaciated elder's dark green light barrier and the white mist emanating from a white long banner could not hold up, getting consumed by the incessant thunder and earth fire. Brother Yu! In the midst of the thunder and earth fire, a piercing scream rang out. Xiaolan! Fang Ye's eyes turned bloodshot, reminded of the scene 10 years ago when his parents were brutally killed. Li! Just then, the crimson-yellow talisman in his hand activated, and with a cry of a divine bird, it transformed into a golden ring engulfed in flames. The golden ring unfolded like a vermilion divine bird. Its wings spread wide, flames raging, nearly tearing open the dark night sky as it charged towards Lu Miaoge. Vermilion bird ring, kill! Fang Ye's eyes reddened with rage as he roared furiously, attempting to use this talisman treasure to slay Lu Miaoge and Lu Changsheng. Boom, boom, boom! The vermilion bird ring, burning everything in its path, tore through the endless thunder and earth fire, transforming into a majestic vermilion bird and pouncing on Lu Miaoge. Lu Miaoge was well prepared for such an attack. In her hand, a second-rank top-quality golden light insignia took form as a resplendent golden barrier, sheltering her. At the same time, she wielded a talisman painted with a bronze spear, radiating a terrifying aura. It was the bronze spear charm that Lu Changxing had given her. She too sensed the arrival of 2 Foundation establishment cultivators with daunting auras and knew these robber cultivators were not simple, daring not to hold back in the slightest. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After seeing the emaciated elder's death, Lu Changxing brought forth a fan forged from black fine iron. The fan in his hand turned into numerous black true mystery spikes shooting out, forming a black iron carapace around Lu Miaoge. He knew the vermilion bird ring talisman in front of him was extraordinarily dangerous, being a talisman treasure with significant killing power. He worried it might accidentally harm Lu Miaoge. Meanwhile, seeing the arrival of the 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, nearly 100 talismans streamed from his sleeves, settling in all directions around them, intending to seal off both himself and Lu Miaoge. Roaring thunder! The vermilion bird ring, like a golden divine bird, struck Lu Miaoge's golden light barrier, producing a violent cacophony. Countless flames burned upon the golden light, causing it to dim instantly and shatter into fragmented golden specks. However, just as the vermilion bird ring was about to continue its attack on Lu Miaoge, a red-gold flying sword shot forth, exploding with endless sharp radiance, breaking through Fang Ye's protective aura. Fang Yu felt his hair stand on end, his mental spirit trembling. The next moment, his world spun wildly, and he saw a headless corpse. At the neck of the headless body, there was a red-gold flying sword. He was the sword cultivator from back then. A surge of hatred, anger, and fear arose in Fang Ye's heart. But before he could continue to ponder, his consciousness plunged into an endless darkness. Chapter 7:14. The Might of the 9-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. _1 With the death of Fang Yu, the vermilion divine bird in the sky suddenly lost its mana support. It let out a mournful cry as the flames dissipated, transforming back into a red-yellow talisman treasure, falling from the sky. Lu Changxing reached out with his man-enforced hand, intending to capture the talisman treasure. You brat, courting death. Just then, a heaven-shaking furious roar erupted. A man of towering height and a frame as formidable as a mountain, clad in crimson robes, charged towards Lu Changxing. His eyes were sharp, his expression ferocious, his entire being emanated a pressuring aura that diminished the boldness of those who laid eyes upon him by a third. Especially his eyes, which at the moment of contact seemed like fire and blood, as if a demon tiger choosing its prey, bursting with an intimidating luster. Combined with the deafening roar, it caused Lu Changsheng's mental spirit to falter momentarily. This was some rare secret technique of divine sense attack. Luckily, Lu Changsheng's divine sense was comparable to that of a cultivator at the pinnacle of Foundation establishment, and he was protected by a spirit-calming spiritual artifact, so he quickly regained his composure after a brief spell of dizziness. However, in the blink of an eye, the burly man in crimson robes tore through the air, appearing before Lu Changxing. His towering body convulsed with muscles, writhing like dragons and snakes, exuding a terrifying physical presence, and he threw a punch. Boom! His punch, like the striking of a divine drum, carried godlike strength, intent on exploding both Lu Changsheng and the air in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Changsheng's spiritual artifact soft armor, belt, and rings spontaneously conjured protective shields in that instant, creating numerous colorful light barriers around him. And Lu Changsheng's own body shone with treasured light as his fists radiated endless golden brilliance, powerfully swinging to deflect the terrifying force of the blow. Boom, boom, boom. The two colossal forces clashed like relentless surging waves against the shore, raising a ceaseless roaring din. A terrifying shockwave erupted from the epicenter where the two men stood, sweeping out in all directions. The merchant street's bluestone flooring trembled and cracked, turning into flying gravel. The surrounding shops and pavilions also shook violently, on the verge of collapse. Their windows shattered and dust filled the air. This, so terrifying. Is this the strength of a Foundation establishment great cultivator? I've seen a fight between cultivators at the Foundation establishment level before, but it was nowhere near this shocking. Indeed, this presence is clearly a level stronger than what we just witnessed. Many cultivators who were spectating trembled with fear, extremely shocked by the scene. Body cultivation. Lu Changxing retreated several steps, putting distance between himself and the crimson-robed man, eyeing him intently. Having been in the cultivation world for so long, he had encountered body cultivators before, but never had he met a body cultivator with the strength of the crimson-robed man. That sudden mighty punch, had it been any regular Foundation establishment cultivator on the receiving end, they would likely have been severely injured if not killed. So you are also a body cultivator? The crimson-robed man also stepped back, dissipating the force, his face serious as he regarded Lu Changsheng. He hadn't expected Lu Changsheng to be a body cultivator as well. Being a body cultivator himself, he was acutely aware of the difficulty of pursuing magical dual cultivation. Not only did it consume vast amounts of time and effort, but the resources needed were also several times that of an ordinary cultivator. Particularly Lu Changsheng's physical condition, which was almost as robust as his own, filled him with immense shock. After all, he had heard of Lu Changsheng's general situation and knew that the latter had only recently made a breakthrough in Foundation establishment and had been practicing cultivation for just a few decades. To have a physique at the pinnacle of Foundation establishment under such circumstances was nothing short of astonishing. Such a physique, unless one had an extraordinary talent or great fortune, would typically require at least a century to achieve. You young lad really know how to keep a low profile. Looks like your luck is truly heaven-sent. The crimson-robed man's face turned fierce with twitching muscles, not daring to underestimate Lu Changxing in the slightest. He had traveled far and wide, seen many geniuses and talents, knowing that one careless move could lead to total defeat. As he spoke, his muscles bulged and his skin turned a dark red, resembling a volcano on the verge of erupting, as writhing heat waves distorted the space around him. Then a red dragon-patterned long saber appeared in his hand. The hilt had a crimson bead, inside which a small dragon seemed to be roaring. Accompanying the dragon's cry, the blade's dragon patterns came to life, unleashing astonishing spiritual light. Roar, roar, roar. The long saber's crimson flames billowed like a fire dragon lunging at Lu Changxing with bared fangs and claws. Go! Just then, Lu Maiage's talisman treasure activated, turning into a bronze spear that exuded an air of martial valor. It whistled through the air, suddenly striking towards the crimson-robed man. Wind-fire formation. Lu Changxing also made hand signs to activate the talismans placed at the cardinal points of heaven and earth, forming a talisman formation to subdue the crimson-robed man. However, in that very moment, Wu, Gu, Ba, Ma, Hum, Ya, Shi, Hang. A series of urgent and intense sound waves, reminiscent of a dragon tiger's roar, surged towards Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. Bang, 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 bang. The visible sound waves spread out, scattering the talismans that Lu Changxing placed in the four corners of the sky and earth. The pavilions around the street, already on the brink of collapse from the residual energy waves, crumbled, windows exploded, signs were ripped away and shattered into pieces. What is this sound? My head hurts so much. Hiss. I feel like my blood is boiling and my heart's racing. Cover your ears. Close your senses. Such a terrifying sound wave spell. How can a person produce such a sound? Energy refining cultivators who were somewhat closer to the merchant street experienced their blood and energy surge tumultuously, their faces showing painful expressions due to the roaring. Ape demon subduing God Club. An imposing bald man with a scarred scalp and a towering stature emerged from the roar, wielding a black short stick, furiously charging at Lu Chongsheng. Chapter 7:15. The Might of the Nine-Colored Tribulation Lightning. Dual Cultivation Technique. Their effort on Fang Yu was considerable, to say the least. It was all for the information about the ancient relic site obtained from his core formation cave abode. Contained within were opportunities related to core formation. But now that Fang Yu was dead, all their efforts had gone to waste. Not good. Upon seeing this, Lu Chongqing knew that the group of robber cultivators was well prepared for his talisman formation. He immediately sacrificed the remaining 7,200 profound truth tactic posts, anchoring the talismans in all directions to form an iron shield. He then activated part of the talisman formation. Their magic auras connected, whipping up a fierce storm of fire, sweeping towards the bald man. Second brother, this kid is tricky. Don't give him any chances. The man in a red robe yelled to the bald man. As he spoke, the red dragon-patterned long saber in his hand roared with fiery energy, the brilliance of its flame soaring to the sky, slashing a long dragon made of flames dozens of yards long, turning the flickering darkness below the great formation into a crimson glow, intent on burning all of Lu Changsheng's talismans to ashes. Big brother, I understand. The bald man spoke in a deep voice, his muscles swelling and throbbing, with a glint of gold glistening as he tossed a string of light gold Buddha beads towards the bronze spear in the sky. Following that, holding a black short stick, he charged towards Lu Miaoga like a wrathful King Kong, his aura ferocious. He had instantly recognized that Lu Changsheng's strength and tactics were far superior to Lu Miaoge's, and much more difficult to deal with. Lu Miaoga was currently maneuvering the talisman treasure, unable to fend off others. Attacking her could also distract Lu Chongsheng. Sister Miaoga, just use the talisman to protect yourself. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng's sleeves fluttered as more talismans flew out, merging with the talisman formation, whipping up fierce winds and fire to block the bald man. At the same time, he commanded the six-winged golden silkworm to strike at the bald man. Red Sun Fire Dragon Cover. The man in the red robe spewed forth a stream of crimson radiance from his mouth. A small, flame-like red cover appeared, enveloping the man, circling above his head, cloaking his entire body. Then, holding the red dragon-patterned long saber, he summoned a series of flame dragons, rushing close to attack Lu Chongsheng. He knew that, in the face of Lu Chongsheng in such a situation, he absolutely could not give him a chance to catch his breath. Otherwise, once he regained his composure, he might have some kind of trump card or reserve tactic. Close combat? Well then, let's see if you can withstand the power of my divine skills. Lu Chongsheng watched the man in the red robe charging towards him, then glanced at Lu Miaoga, his expression becoming fierce. He had no intention of dragging out the battle and prepared for a quick and decisive conclusion. 9 treasures Rui Bone, 9-colored tribulation light. With a thunderous sound, it was as though a volcano had erupted or a river had broken its banks within his chest, much like the thunderous roar that resonated with a grand and mysterious aura. From afar, Lu Chongsheng appeared like a deity, his mana surging around him, instilling dread in those who watched. The bald man and Lu Miaoga beside couldn't help but glance at Lu Chongsheng, unsure of what was happening. The next moment, a tsunami of resplendent 9-colored divine light burst forth from Lu Changsheng's chest, surging and endless. Within the tribulation light, runic symbols undulated like wriggling tadpoles, exuding an aura that could suppress and destroy all forms of magic. What kind of technique is this? The man in the red robe could not recognize the divine skills and felt an ominous palpitation from Lu Changsheng's immeasurably powerful technique. not daring to be the slightest bit negligent. He pushed his red sun fire dragon cover to its limits, the spiritual light flashing wildly and the aura of fire churning, with a fierce and impressive fire dragon coiling atop the shield. Boom! As the 9-colored tribulation light descended, the dozens of yards-long flame dragons that the man in the red robe had slashed out instantly disintegrated into ashes. Immediately after, the fire dragon coiled around his protective shield let out a mournful cry, dissipating visibly to the naked eye. How is this possible? The man in the red robe's eyes revealed disbelief as he quickly exerted his full strength to drive the red sun fire dragon cover. Countless red spiritual blossoms burst forth, transforming into a series of fire dragons. But no sooner had a fire dragon appeared than it was scattered by the 9-colored light, turned to ash. In merely an instant, the man in the red robe felt his mana being rapidly drained, struggling to maintain his efforts, his face turning pale, his breath ragged. Meanwhile, Lu Chongqing stood with an indifferent expression, like a deity presiding over life and death, showing no signs of excessive strain. Humming, the red sun fire dragon cover hovering above his head buzzed continuously, cracks appearing on its surface. How is this possible? How can he, at the initial stage of foundation establishment, have such mana to wield such a technique? The man in the red robe's face contorted in pain, blood oozing from his 7 orifices, unable to utter a word. If it weren't for the mismatch in Lu Changsheng's mana aura, showing no sign of core formation, he would have believed that the man before him was a false core immortal. He had once encountered a false core immortal whose attacks were nowhere near as domineering. The next moment. Boom! The red sun fire dragon cover, a top-tier spiritual artifact, let out a pitiful wail before bursting apart, shattering into pieces. The 9-colored tribulation light struck the man in the red robe, sending him flying backward, his body crisped and shattered, his flesh a blurry mess. Under this strike, the man in the red robe suffered devastating injuries. Like a mountain, his body smashed into a shop not far away, pulverizing it into rubble, as he spat mouthfuls of fresh blood. Not bad, Lu Chongqing muttered to himself, slightly nodding his head. He was quite satisfied with the power of the 9-colored tribulation light, though it was a pity to completely ruin a spiritual artifact. He turned to the 6-winged golden silkworm, his mental spirit drifting slightly. Go! Swoosh! In an instant, the 6-winged golden silkworm released its bloodthirsty evil aura and transformed into a streak of golden light, shooting towards the man in the red robe. At this moment, the man in the red robe attempted to execute his body-refining techniques. Chapter 7:16. The Power of the 9-Colored Tribulation Light, Dual Cultivation Technique. But under the strike of the 9-colored escape light, he felt excruciating pain throughout his body. Each part felt as though it was being torn apart cruelly. To say nothing of facing the 6-winged golden silkworm, even facing an energy-refining cultivator. He now found it difficult to fend off, only to see the 6-winged golden silkworm killing its way over. His chest was directly penetrated by the golden light, and blood gushed forth. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Seeing the blood, the savage nature of the 6-winged golden silkworm was completely triggered. It frantically tore, gnawed, and sucked the blood. No! The red-robed giant roared in despair, his mouth filled with blood. But at this moment, he was powerless to resist the actions of the 6-winged golden silkworm. He only felt his internal organs being gnawed, blood being drawn, his whole body in unbearable pain, becoming increasingly weak, and his consciousness blurring. Big brother! The bald giant was shocked upon witnessing this scene, eyes filled with disbelief. Having followed the red-robed giant all these years, he was very much aware of his brother's prowess. Skilled in both martial and magical arts at the peak of foundation establishment, among foundation builders he was an unbeatable existence. Even when facing off against false core immortals, he could stand a few exchanges before escaping. But now, he had been so swiftly defeated at the hands of Lu Chongqing, a defeat most miserable. At that moment, without hesitation, He decisively took out a talisman to flee for his life. After all, if his cheap big brother couldn't win, not being a match for Lu Chongqing, continuing the fight was merely courting death. As for brotherly affection, although there was some, it was not much. You think you can escape? Seeing this, Lu Chongqing immediately freed up his hands, forming seals with both hands, and caused 10,809 mysteries true seals to block the bald giant's escape in every direction. At the same time, talismans flew out from his sleeves, connecting in a talisman formation, with wind aiding fire, fierce gales sweeping across, and roaring flames surging. Kill! Lu Miaoge, seeing this, also immediately propelled her bronze spear towards the bald giant. Fellow Taoist, if you are willing to spare me, I have a grand opportunity to offer you. With his escape blocked by the talisman formation and attacks bearing down on him, the bald giant quickly released several defense talisman, creating walls of golden light to defend against the assaults. Wind, Fire, Thunder Talisman Array. Kill! Lu Chongqing had an indifferent expression, turning a deaf ear. Fellow Taoist, this opportunity is an ancient relic site, containing top-tier inheritance, the chance for core formation, even nascent soul opportunities. The bald giant's expression grew uglier as he continued to shout loudly. In the midst of his words, he slapped his storage bag, sacrificing a golden great bell. The bell was dazzling with golden light, resplendent and eye-catching, giving off an indomitable sense of heaviness, enveloping him completely. Nonetheless, he still used his golden prayer beads to smash down on the 9 mysteries true seals, attempting to break the talisman formation's lockdown. 9 mysteries true seals. Kill! Lu Chongqing was still unmoved. The opportunity for core formation and the top-tier inheritance held no appeal for him. In his system space, he still had a coagulation crystal elixir. As for the chance for a nascent soul, he believed that once he formed his core, he wouldn't need to worry. Phew. 7,200 true seals closed off heaven and earth, stabilizing the talisman array, while 3,609 mysteries true seals entered the Great Formation, continually assailing the bald giant. Boom, boom, boom. Ting, ting, ting. Gales swept through, fierce fire surged, thunder rolled, and accompanied by the pitch-black 9 mysteries true seals, they continued to blast against the golden great bell, ringing out with a constant metallic clang. Sister Miaoge, there are robber cultivators outside preparing to flee. You immediately use the Great Formation to stop them. They'll be right there. Just then, Lu Chongqing noticed the commotion at the marketplace's Great Formation diminishing. He knew that the Foundation establishment robber cultivators interfering with the Great Formation sensed something was amiss here and were preparing to flee. Facing such robber cultivators, he naturally aimed to eradicate them utterly, not allowing anyone to escape and become a future threat. Lu Miaoge had talisman treasures, 3rd-rank talismans at her side, and as long as she didn't encounter Foundation establishment cultivators of the caliber of the Red-Robe Giant or the current Bald Giant, it was generally not an issue. Moreover, Lu Miaoge was in control of the marketplace's Great Formation. Although she couldn't operate the Great Formation's full power like Ling Zixiao, she could still enhance her own strength. All right, Chongqing, be careful. Lu Miaoge, upon hearing this, did not hesitate, withdrew her bronze spear, transformed into escape light, and flew towards the spot where the formation was broken earlier. Lu Chongqing nodded slightly, continuing to watch the bald giant within the talisman formation. At this point, the opponent was like a fish in a jar. Boom, boom, boom. Under the barrage of talisman and the assault of the 9 mysteries true seals, the golden great bell dimmed, cracks began to appear, no longer self-repairing. Surprisingly, though, this golden great bell actually had the ability to self-repair. The cracks that appeared on it were visibly mending at a rate perceptible to the naked eye. Phew. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing fired off another 18-second rank talismans. Hoo. With the addition of these 18-second rank talismans, the power of the entire talisman formation immediately increased, linked with the 9 mysteries true seals, totally fierce and turbulent. Damn it! How does he have so many talismans? Watching Lu Chongqing with so many talismans, the bald giant's face grew uglier and uglier. Although the golden great bell had self-repair ability, it was dependent on his own mana. Under such relentless bombardment, his mana couldn't keep up at all. Fellow Taoist, as long as you are willing to spare my life, I am willing to submit and serve you, the bald giant continued to shout out. Although he was a Foundation establishment great cultivator, having survived in the cultivation world for so long, he knew when to be tough and when to bend. However, Lu Chongqing was still unmoved. While he didn't mind taking on followers, he looked at the person and the situation. Boom, boom, boom. Under the onslaught of the talisman formation, the golden great bell finally began to lose its luster, the cracks no longer healed. Chapter 717. The Might of the Nine-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. For explode. Witnessing this scene, Lu Chongqing didn't waste any more time. He formed hand seals and uttered an indifferent syllable, detonating the talisman formation. As the syllable dropped, in an instant, all the talisman's energies fused together, unleashing an extremely violent mana fluctuation. Boom! Subsequently, an earth-shattering explosion roared into being. It brightened the night sky in that moment, making the entire marketplace seem to shake and shimmer, a mushroom cloud rising into the air. This, such terrifying power. Is this the might of a foundation-building great cultivator? This power is simply too frightening. Everyone in the market heard the intense explosion and felt a jolt in their hearts. Lu Chongqing watched the fierce and wild mana waves before him, smoothed his sleeves, and dispersed them. Through his divine sense, he could tell that the bald man's presence had been extinguished. The golden great bell that survived the explosion was now a dim, shattered remnant, which made Lu Chongqing feel a twinge of regret. From the fight just now, he could tell that the golden great bell was an extremely fine spiritual artifact. What a pity it was now broken beyond repair, reduced to scrap. As for the bald man, he had been reduced to a charred and broken corpse. The face still intact, wore a horrific expression of dying with grievances unappeased. The abilities and resources of these two should provide a good haul, right? Lu Chongqing glanced over at the red-robed man who, under the gnawing of the six-winged golden silkworm, had also ceased to breathe, contemplating in his heart. Eat later, Lu Chongqing said to the six-winged golden silkworm. Then, with a sweep of his hand, he gathered the magic artifacts, spiritual artifacts, and storage bags of the deceased into his possession. After doing so, he sensed the battle energy from Lu Miage's direction, turned into a streak of light, and shot forth suddenly. At this very moment, by the eastern gate of Red Leaf Valley Market. Boom! 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 Lu Miaoge was engaging in fierce combat with a middle-aged man with a face pale as jade and sinister brows, using her water dragon technique. This middle-aged man, clearly disinclined to fight, defended continuously. He manipulated several array flags to leverage the Red Leaf Valley Market's great formation, trying to break a gap to escape through. So soon? The sinister man's expression changed, turning ugly. He hadn't expected his brothers to be dealt with by Lu Chongqing so quickly. He had thought tonight's mission would be a casual affair and hadn't prepared much, such as breaking a gap in the great formation in advance, ready for an escape. But by the time he realized that something was amiss and his elder brother was being suppressed, it was already too late for escape. Swoosh! Lu Chongqing, wielding the true Yang five-element sword, made a fierce slash forward. Fierce and domineering seven luminaries' sword chi emerged, shooting towards the sinister man. Damn it! The sword chi tore through the air, forcing the sinister man's complexion to change slightly. He formed seals with his hands, and from his fan flickered rays of light that spiraled in the air, materializing into multicolored light barriers in front of him. Pft, pft, pft. The seven luminaries' sword chi was incredibly sharp, successively breaking through the light barriers. The sinister man's face darkened at this scene, and he called out, "Honored cultivators, I am a second-rank array master. If you spare me, I'll be at your service should you ever require my skills, no matter the task." His strength was average, merely at the foundation establishment middle stage. The reason he managed to be brotherly with the red-robed and bald men was due to his skill in formations. After all, for robbers, having an array master was beneficial for exploring ancient ruins, ambushing and killing, or breaking into other spiritual lands. However, both Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge remained silent, continuing their assault on the sinister man. Water Dragon Technique. Kill. Lu Miaoge's hands flew through seals, controlling the water dragon as it surged towards the sinister man. The sinister man still relied on his folding fan and activated talismans to fend off their attacks. But against the water dragon and sword chi, he could barely manage a defense. A moment later, pierce! A sound of piercing the air echoed. The true Yang Five Elements sword burst forth, transforming into a streak of light that punctured the sinister man's chest. I refuse to accept this. The sinister man immediately grunted, vomiting blood, his face filled with unwillingness. Pft, pft, pft. The sword chi was merciless, erupting forth and instantly slicing the sinister man's body into several pieces, snuffing out his life energy. Everything should be taken care of now, Lu Changsheng said, looking toward Lu Miaoge. Unless there are robber cultivators hiding in the marketplace, there shouldn't be any left, Lu Miaoge replied, taking out the array plate and sensing for a moment before she spoke. Tonight, the robber cultivators who caused chaos in the Red Leaf Valley market have all been suppressed. To all affected, I, Lu Changsheng, hereby extend my apologies for any disturbance and inconvenience caused. In 3 days, our Red Leaf Valley market will provide an explanation for tonight's events. Additionally, to ensure everyone's safety, the marketplace will be closed for a few days for an examination to root out any remaining robber cultivators. If anyone has any information, please report it to our enforcement team, and you will be rewarded by the marketplace. Lu Changsheng took the array plate from Lu Miaoge's hand, injected his mana, and used the formation to spread his voice throughout the entire marketplace. After speaking, Lu Changsheng continued, Enforcement team, come to see me immediately. All suppressed? There were 5 foundation establishment cultivators just now. Lu Mountain Lord is mighty. Lu Ancestor is mighty. Are the Mountain Master of By Lake Mountain and his wife really just a few years into their foundation establishment? Their strength is astonishing. This is definitely not the strength of someone who has just achieved foundation establishment. That's right. I've never heard of 2 early-stage foundation establishment cultivators being able to slay 5 foundation establishment cultivators. That talisman formation and that 9-colored aurora were simply too amazing. Hearing Lu Changsheng's words, the cultivators in the market began to buzz with conversation. For them, tonight was a sleepless night. Although most could only watch the overall battle from afar, such a display of magical combat had a profound impact on them. We pay respect to the ancestor. We pay respect to the ancestor. We pay respect to the ancestor. Before long, the law enforcement cultivators of the marketplace arrived. Most of these cultivators were from the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain and the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake. Only a few were from the Wugong Ridgesheng family and some were recruited loose cultivators. Seeing Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge, they were all extremely respectful. Especially the Lu family cultivators of Qingzhou Mountain, looking at Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge, felt as if they were dreaming. After all, having an ancestor with such combat power and making such a show of force was a cause for immense joy among them. Send someone to clean up and rebuild the commercial street, take stock of all the damaged shops and buildings, and calculate the losses. Then search every part of the marketplace to see if there are any traces of robber cultivators left and determine when these 5 robbers arrived. Lu Changsheng commanded the enforcement cultivators with a calm yet distant voice, but for those hearing it, it carried an undeniable authority. As you command, as you command, as you command. The law enforcement cultivators responded in unison, bowing respectfully. As they left, Lu Changsheng looked toward Lu Miaoge and spoke telepathically. Sister Miaoge, regarding tonight's events, we will later say to others that the cultivation technique we practice is a dual cultivation technique. As long as we are together, we can temporarily raise our cultivation level to the middle stage of foundation establishment, and when we join forces, we can even unleash the combat power of the late foundation establishment stage. Lu Chongqing made this suggestion. He hadn't revealed too much of his own power that evening. But the combat power he and Lu Miaoge displayed was still somewhat astonishing. Two individuals only a few years into their foundation establishment, slaying 5 foundation establishment robber cultivators, was hardly a believable story no matter how it was twisted. Therefore, thinking about the Tai Shengshui Ju which he and Lu Miaoge were practicing, he came up with this explanation. After all, belief in the story was discretionary. He was merely providing a plausible rationale. Furthermore, there were no foundation establishment cultivators in the Red Leaf Valley market, as they were all Qi refinement cultivators. Even if there were exceptionally perceptive individuals among them, it was unlikely they could deduce the specific strength from the overall battle situation. We are indeed practicing a dual cultivation technique, Lu Miaoge responded with a gentle demeanor and a water-like grace, laughing softly. Since the moment Lu Chongqing took out the foundation establishment elixir, the 3 foundation establishment spirit objects and the Tai Shengshui Ju, she knew that Lu Chongqing had always concealed his skills, harboring many secrets unknown to others. Particularly after cultivating the Tai Shengshui Ju, through the Tai Dao seed, she could faintly sense Lu Changsheng's cultivation level, knowing that he was not someone who had just broken through to foundation establishment. She even faintly guessed through the Tai Dao seed and the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture that the sword cultivator in the marketplace of Red Leaf Valley 10 years ago was Lu Chongqing. But as Lu Chongqing hadn't spoken of it, she wouldn't inquire further, knowing that broadcasting such matters would seem too astonishing. However, this battle had confirmed her suspicion that the sword cultivator from 10 years prior was indeed Lu Chongqing. At that time, Lu Chongqing had already broken through to foundation establishment and was capable of slaying a middle-stage foundation establishment robber cultivator. This added yet another layer of mystery to her husband. Nonetheless, after many years as husband and wife, Lu Changsheng's various deeds had left her with no doubt about his intentions, and she knew his secrets were born of necessity. Chapter 718. Settling the Gains. Treasure Map. _1 Sister Miaoge. I'm sorry. I didn't intentionally hide many things from you in the past, Lu Chongqing said to Lu Miaoge with an apologetic expression. He could conceal his combat power from others in the marketplace, but obviously he couldn't keep it from Lu Miaoge. Through the recent battle, Lu Miaoge should have noticed a lot. However, since both he and Lu Miaoge practiced the Tai Shengshui Ju, Lu Miaoge had long been aware of many things. He just didn't mention them and she wouldn't have asked. Now, concerning these matters, he naturally wouldn't hide them anymore. It's okay, Chongqing, Lu Miaoge said with a gentle smile. She was well aware that Lu Changsheng's opportunities far exceeded anyone's imagination. If such news were to be leaked, it would be very dangerous. Thinking about Lu Changsheng's situation, where he dared not reveal a hint of his fortune and had to keep it deeply hidden, always treading on thin ice, must have been incredibly hard. With a touch of heartache, she clasped her husband's hand, intertwining her fingers with his. Chongqing, these years must have been very tough on you. If there's ever anything in the future that you find hard to keep to yourself, you can talk to me. We're husband and wife, Lu Miaoge said with eyes brimming with warmth and gentleness. All right, Lu Chongqing said, holding his wife's delicate hand, with a smile on his face. Then, turning to look at the corpses of the sinister men and the several arranged flags, he said, Sister Miaoge, it seems that our harvest tonight should be quite substantial. It's a pity that a few spiritual artifacts were damaged, Lu Miaoge said somewhat regretfully. Even the cheapest spiritual artifact could be worth several thousand to tens of thousands of spirit stones. In this battle, she saw 2 spiritual artifacts get damaged by Lu Chongqing, which pained her. Speaking of spiritual artifacts, Sister Miaoge, you don't have a life-bound spiritual artifact yet. I also forgot about this matter. With tonight's loot, it should be more than enough to craft a few spiritual artifacts for you. Lu Chongqing laughed. The Water of Virtue technique, like the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, had its corresponding life-bound spiritual artifacts. However, he had forgotten about Lu Miaoge's life-bound spiritual artifact due to the family affairs. It was only after seeing Lu Miaoga in battle, using only the crossbow and talismans he gave her, that he remembered this matter. He knew that Lu Miaoga didn't have enough spirit stones to buy the materials to craft her life-bound spiritual artifact. I have already started buying the materials to craft the water vase, Lu Miaoga said with a light laugh. The water vase. Lu Chongqing nodded and said, the water vase isn't strong in attack, so forge a Tai Chi talisman along with it, so you can have both offense and defense. Good, Lu Miaoga said with a smile, her lips lightly curved. Let's go, it's time to calculate our gains, Lu Chongqing said to Lu Miaoga with a smile. Soon the two turned into a stream of light and returned to their cavern abode. Sister, Lu Chongqing, are you both okay? Lu Miaohuan immediately came forward with concern when she saw them return, examining Lu Chongqing from head to toe. Of course we're okay. Sorry for making you worry, Huan. Lu Chongqing said with a gentle smile. Thereafter, he took out various storage artifacts and storage bags and said, come on, Huan, let's start sorting out the loot. To him, there was nothing more joyful than tallying the spoils after defeating a robber cultivator. Sort out the loot. Seeing that both Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoga were unharmed, and noticing the storage bags and artifacts, Lu Miaohuan became interested. Immediately, the three of them began to tally the spoils of this battle. Wow, so many spirit stones! Lu Miaohuan exclaimed in surprise upon opening a storage bag and seeing the spirit stones inside. Lu Chongqing glanced at it, his mouth twitching slightly. There were about 3,000 to 5,000 spirit stones inside. However, considering that Lu Miaohuan, although being the young lady of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain and the lady of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, was nevertheless just a minor cultivator in the Qi refinement realm and hadn't seen much of the world, it was normal for her to make a fuss over seeing so many spirit stones. He chuckled and said, "Hehe, then you're in for a surprise later." "Ah, right, Huan. This talisman treasure has a pretty good power. Take it for self-defense." As he spoke, Lu Chongqing handed a vermilion bird ring talisman to Lu Miaohuan. He basically had no use for talisman treasures anymore. Plus, he already had a talisman treasure by his side, so he had no use for this vermilion bird ring talisman. A talisman treasure. Lu Miaohuan's eyes shone upon hearing this, and she looked at the reddish-yellow talisman treasure. It depicted a golden ring surrounded by flame patterns, emitting a mysterious and formidable aura. Although she had never seen a talisman treasure, she had heard of their great reputation. She knew that it was made by nascent soul immortals from their own magic artifacts, consuming their origin source to craft, and the power was immensely strong, usable even by an energy refinement cultivator. Did you see it just now? This talisman forms a golden ring of fire and can transform into a vermilion bird divine bird, Lu Chongqing explained. This is too precious. A talisman treasure can only unleash its full potential in the foundation establishment stage, so maybe sister should have it instead, Lu Miaohuan said, a bit hesitant. Although she wanted it, she knew the talisman treasure was precious, and giving it to her would not make full use of its power, which would be a waste. Huan, just keep it. I have a talisman treasure too, Lu Miaoga said, looking at her considerate sister with a gentle smile. She took out her bronze spear charm and said softly, "Then I'll accept it, thank you, husband," Lu Miaohuan said, visibly happy as she accepted the talisman treasure and kissed Lu Chongqing to show her gratitude. Hee. Lu Chongqing chuckled at the young lattice reaction and began to inspect several items from a storage bag that appeared to be rare. Transforming dragon ginseng, illusion heartgrass, blue spiritual liquid. Chongqing, these are auxiliary materials for crafting a foundation-building elixir, Lu Miaoga suddenly said, looking at the spiritual medicines. Illusion heartgrass? Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow upon hearing this. It was the only ingredient he was missing for crafting the foundation establishment elixir, and he didn't expect to find it here. Chapter 719. Settling the gains. Treasure map. It seems they were preparing to refine a batch of foundation establishment elixirs. Now they're just short of a heavenly spirit fruit and a special monster core of the second rank, Lu Chongqing said with a laugh. With this illusion heartgrass, he could start refining foundation establishment elixirs when he got back. If we collect a heavenly spirit fruit or a special second-rank monster core later, we can directly gather all the ingredients for a batch of foundation establishment elixirs. Even if we don't use them ourselves, these few spiritual medicines are also quite valuable. Lu Miaoga said with a smile on her face. Although she was a foundation establishment cultivator and had seen some of the world, she had never had such a bountiful harvest before. The three of them chatted while they sorted through their loot. Red Sun Melting Gold Technique, an exquisite level cultivation technique. Cultivating the Red Sun True Fire, melding with 100 refined pure gold. Black Tiger Overpowering Body, an exquisite level cultivation technique. Infusing body with essence blood of tiger lineage demon beasts, refining the flesh, capable of demonic transformation. Lu Chongqing found 2 jade slips inside a brocade box. He knew these must be the cultivation techniques practiced by the red-robed man. He glanced over briefly. The Red Sun Melting Gold technique was quite good. But the Black Tiger Overpowering Body was less so. Although the physical body became strong and domineering, far surpassing ordinary body refinement techniques, the process of refining affected one's nature, blending the essence blood of demon beasts into one's body, and caused one's physique to grow increasingly massive. Setting the brocade box aside, Lu Chongqing continued to inspect another brocade box. As soon as this box was opened, a burst of intense heat and a fragrant scent invigorated Lu Chongqing's spirit slightly. Is this fire marrow date? Lu Chongqing saw a date-sized item inside the brocade box, resembling a piece of agate on fire. This fire marrow date was an important auxiliary material for refining the coagulation crystal elixir. However, Lu Chongqing's recognition of this fire date wasn't because of the coagulation crystal elixir's ingredients. Instead, this fire marrow date was one of the core formation spiritual objects. Consuming it alone could potentially enhance the effect of cultivating fire attribute techniques during the push to core formation. Fire marrow date, this is a core formation spiritual object, somewhat helpful for breaking through to core formation, and also one of the main auxiliary materials for the coagulation crystal elixir. Lu Miaoga was also excited when she saw the agate date. She said to Lu Chongqing, "Chongqing, you can also start gathering some core formation spiritual objects now, and collect the materials for the coagulation crystal elixir." There's no hurry," Lu Chongqing chuckled and replied. "With this fire marrow date, today's expenditure on talismans has been recouped." He and Lu Miaoga had used a total of 5 supreme talismans of the second rank, 9 middle-grade talismans of the second rank, 27 lower-grade talismans of the second rank, and 81 first-grade talismans in their prior battle. Not to mention Lu Miaoga's single strike with her talisman treasure, the total cost was about 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. Yet, just this one fire marrow date was worth 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. It took the better half of an hour for the 3 to clear out the storage bags of the 6 robber cultivators. Inside, there were 319 middle-grade spirit stones, and 23,052 lower-grade spirit stones. 3 supreme spiritual artifacts, 2 superior spiritual artifacts, 3 middle-grade spiritual artifacts, 5 lower-grade spiritual artifacts, and 4 supreme magic artifacts. However, 2 of the supreme spiritual artifacts were the divine fire cover and golden bell of the red-robed man and the bald man, respectively. One was severely damaged by the 9 tribulations divine light, the other was directly battered beyond repair during the chaos of the talisman formation, almost rendered as scrap. The other spiritual artifacts were relatively undamaged, at most having minor wear. Apart from spirit stones, spiritual artifacts, magic artifacts, elixir medicines, talisman, spiritual medicine, cultivation technique inheritances, and a pile of other precious spiritual materials, 1 third-rank purple dragon would particularly surprise Lu Chongqing. This kind of spiritual wood that could be used to make talisman paper was very rare in the usual course of things. Pan-Yuan turning technique. Lu Chongqing inspected each jade slip. This was a technique jade slip, admittedly a peripheral sect-level cultivation technique within. However, this cultivation technique, like the Red Phoenix True Scripture he obtained before, could only be cultivated up to the core formation stage. There was nothing further. Two peripheral sect-level cultivation techniques, both only reaching up to the core formation stage. Is this a coincidence, or what? Lu Chongqing frowned slightly, deep in thought. Although it could only be cultivated up to core formation, it was still considered a top-tier technique. Counting this peripheral sect-level technique, Lu Chongqing had garnered 3 exquisite level techniques in this hall, as well as a second-rank superior talisman path inheritance and the formation path insights from the effeminate man. Chongsheng. This seems to be a treasure map related to an ancient relic site. Lu Miaoge, holding an aged and old-fashioned sheepskin scroll drawn on some kind of material, spoke up. A treasure map? An ancient relic site? Lu Miaohuan, present nearby, suddenly piqued an interest at this news, joining her sister to examine the treasure map. Most cultivators in the cultivation world are deeply interested in exploring relic sites, because they all know from what they hear and see that ordinary cultivators must rely on fortuitous encounters. Many explore relic sites for it. It looks like the ancient relic site that the robber cultivator mentioned earlier is this one. But this kind of thing is interesting to look at, there's no need to take it too seriously, Lu Chongqing said with a laugh. He had no interest in treasure maps. In his opinion, the least valuable thing was just this kind of treasure map. While it might sound precious, with chances for core formation or nascent soul opportunities within the relics, no one knew the specific value or how to directly obtain it. Once someone set their heart on treasure hunting, not only was there no guarantee of a reward, but it could also bring a torrent of trouble and danger, and one might just end up losing their life for nothing. So that kind of item, let whoever wants it take it. Lu Miaoge nodded gently in agreement when she heard this. Although she was quite interested in treasure maps, she had no intentions of exploring ancient relics. After examining some miscellaneous items, the 3 of them estimated that, excluding items like technique inheritances that were hard to value, the total was worth roughly 200,000 spirit stones. Chapter 720. Settling the gains. Treasure map. After estimating the number of spirit stones, both Lu Miaohuan and Lu Miaoge felt a bit dizzy. Even when tallying up, they already had a rough idea that this haul was incredibly rich. But they never imagined it would be worth so much. You see, the total annual income of the entire Qingzhou mountain is only 20 to 30,000 spirit stones. If you subtract the tribute, family expenses and so on, the amount of spirit stones saved each year is barely a few thousand. And now, slaying a group of robber cultivators has directly yielded 200,000 spirit stones, leaving the 2 ladies at a loss for words. Lu Chongqing, on the other hand, was relatively calm about this. In his view, the value of these robber cultivators didn't even match their fighting power. But robber cultivators make money quickly and spend it just as fast, so having this much wealth was already quite good. No wonder so many cultivators become robber cultivators. They are just too rich, Lu Miaohuan said aloud, somewhat touched. She came to understand deeply why so many cultivators were willing to risk doing such things. Huan, don't even think about that. If you need spirit stones, just tell your husband. Lu Chongqing chuckled lightly, speaking to his delicate wife in a warm voice. He knew that so many spirit stones would cause a certain shock to his wife. However, in his view as his wife, she should indeed broaden her horizons and increase her knowledge. Where would I think about such things? It just feels like I'm dreaming. Lu Miaohuan chided Lu Chongqing with a glance. Sister Miaoge, keep these spirit stones. Forge your life-bound spiritual artifact as soon as possible, and don't be afraid to spend money. If it's not enough, continue to tell me. Huan, keep these spirit stones and spend more time on your cultivation. Lu Chongqing gave Lu Miaoge 30,000 spirit stones and Lu Miaohuan 5,000. All right, Lu Miaoge responded with a gentle and warm expression. Lu Miaohuan, with a face full of happiness, said, "Thank you, husband. Let me see Wanhuan's sincerity." Lu Chongqing looked at the delicate wife before him, drew her slender waist into his arms, and then captured her plump, luscious, dewy red lips. MMH. The familiar foray made Lu Miaohuan's body tremble slightly, and she hummed softly through her delicate nose. However, she didn't resist Lu Chongqing's actions at all. Her slender and beautiful arms wrapped around his neck, responding gently. Their breaths intertwined, and the sweet fragrance filled the space between them. Sister Miaoga. A moment later, as their lips parted, Lu Chongqing called out to Lu Miaoga. Lu Miaoga pouted slightly, her cheeks blushing like the dawn, criticizing in her heart that this bad man was expecting something from her and her sister, but having just been through a battle, she thought to indulge Lu Chongqing this time, softly giving an MHM in response. Soon after, a sense of spring filled the air within the cave dwelling. Dawn was just breaking. Lu Yuanzhong by Yunyang and Patriarch Zheng, after receiving a message from Lu Chongqing, hastened to the Red Leaf Valley market. The elder ancestor of the Su family, Su Renguang, also came along with Patriarch Zheng. When they arrived at the marketplace and briefly understood the situation from the previous night from their own juniors, all wore faces of utter confusion. 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators causing trouble in the marketplace? All subdued by Chongqing and Sister Miaoga? The battle, it didn't even last a quarter of an hour. The talisman formation, a beam of divine light, beyond astonishing. And 2 talisman treasures appeared. Among these 5 robber cultivators, there was at least one in the middle stage, even late stage of Foundation establishment. This. The 4 were all in disbelief upon hearing this news, but with their own juniors' emphatic claims, they began to half doubt and half believe, mainly because such an event was too shocking, too incredible to believe. Although Lu Chongqing was known to have impressively slain 3 Foundation establishment cultivators on his own, but 3 Foundation establishment cultivators and 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators are not the same concept at all. Those who become robber cultivators generally do not lack in combat prowess. Moreover, this group of robber cultivators dared to carry out the audacious act of delivering Yuanzhong, with a late-stage Foundation establishment magic aura on the clock, all indicating they were no simpletons. Yet such a group of robber cultivators were easily subdued by Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoga, which was simply unbelievable to them. Even if Lu Chongqing had a talisman formation, there must be a limit to its power, right? Moreover, Lu Chongqing had previously used several hundred talismans on the 3 elders of the Yu family. Where would he get so many talismans now? Lu Chongqing, although a second-grade talisman master, couldn't just make talismans every day. There were other affairs to attend to, not to mention he was also selling talismans to outsiders. All 4 were puzzled, their faces a picture of bewilderment, as they waited for Lu Chongqing to arrive. In a spacious and elegant cave dwelling, wisps of incense rose from the amethyst incense burner, filling the dwelling with a faint, tranquil fragrance, soothing to one's mental spirit. On the jade bed, Lu Chongqing was embracing his 2 wives' snowy white bodies, resting. At that moment, he sensed the jade talisman at his side flickering dimly and brightly, lightly twinkling, indicating that Lu Yuanzhong, by Yunyang, and others had arrived. Sister Miaoga, it's about time we went over, Lu Chongqing said softly, looking towards Lu Miaoga. Emiche. Lu Miaoga replied with her beautiful eyes lifting softly, shimmering with luster. Huan, you stay home and rest well? Lu Chongqing said, looking at the other, Lu Miaohuan, who was as soft as silk, with disheveled hair, lazy and charming. Emiche. Lu Miaohuan replied lethargically and closed her beautiful eyes again. Immediately after, Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoga got dressed and walked out of the cave dwelling. Although he had gone through a major battle the previous night, he showed no hint of weariness and felt fresh and clear-headed. The 2 approached the meeting hall of Red Leaf Valley. Upon seeing Lu Yuanzhong, by Yunyang, Patriarch Zheng, and Su Renguang waiting for him in the great hall, Lu Chongqing greeted them with a smile. Uncle, Taoist Su, Taoist by Patriarch Zheng. He was dressed in a green robe, handsome and refined, with an air of transcendence, like a noble orchid or a tall and upright tree, serene and detached. Beside him, Lu Miaoga was in a snow-white dress, her face pretty and fresh, her aura as gentle as water. As the 2 walked shoulder to shoulder into the hall, they looked like a perfect couple. All 4 gazing at this couple, who seemed like celestial beings, were somewhat dazed, finding it hard to believe that just last night, the 2 had subdued 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators. Chapter 721. Yunwan Shang. If I had brought him back to the Qingyun sect at that time, Sir Wan Chongxing Miaoge, you've arrived, please take a seat. Lu Yuanzhong rose to his feet, a broad smile on his face as he beckoned the two to sit down. Although he was immensely shocked by Lu Changsheng's and Lu Maiage's martial prowess, his heart was filled with even greater joy. After all, by Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain, despite being two separate families, were related in their own way. About last night's incident with the robber cultivators. You all must be clear on it by now, right? Once Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge were seated, they asked. The events of the night before didn't need to be further explained, as the offspring from the four houses in the marketplace, loose cultivators, and other forces would send word back to their families. We've heard bits and pieces. I've heard that last night there were 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators causing trouble? Mountain Lord Lu, are these the same robber cultivators who delivered us the bell previously? Lu Daoist, the bell that the robber cultivators sent earlier contained the mana of the late Foundation establishment stage. What was the power level of these robber cultivators? All 4 nodded and spoke up. Last night a total of 6 robber cultivators caused trouble, 5 Foundation establishment cultivators, and 1 at the peak of Qi refinement. Among them were 2 in the late Foundation establishment stage. Lu Chongxing disclosed without holding back. SSSSS. What? A great cultivator at the late Foundation establishment stage? There were actually 2 late Foundation establishment stage robber cultivators last night. This. Hearing this, all 4 faces showed shock, their hearts stirring like tumultuous waves. From the accounts of their descendants, and the incident with the bell delivery, they had vaguely guessed there might be a great cultivator among the robber cultivators active last night. But they had never imagined there would be not just 1, but 2. Keep in mind that among these people the highest cultivation level belonged to Su Renguang, who was only at the middle stage of Foundation establishment. A great cultivator at the late stage of Foundation establishment didn't need to mention their status in Red Leaf Valley. Even looking across the entire Qingyun region, they were considered to have profound cultivation levels. That's because aside from the beast-taming Su family, a noble lineage, and a few families with false core masters, late-stage Foundation establishment occupied the first rung on the ladder of power. However, Lu Chongxing just announced that among the 5 troublemaking robber cultivators last night, 2 were in the late stage of Foundation establishment. Moreover, both late-stage Foundation establishment robber cultivators and the 3 Foundation establishment cultivators were all slain by him and Lu Miaoge. This, it was simply too astonishing. All 4 looked at Lu Chongxing with shocked faces, hardly knowing what to say. You must be curious about how Miaoge and I subdued the robber cultivators, aren't you? Seeing their expressions, Lu Chongxing smiled wryly. For him, such martial feats were hardly worth mentioning. But for Qingzhou Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and even Yushui Su family, it was indeed quite astonishing. Not to hide from Lu Daoist, Su is indeed somewhat curious. However, if it involves any of Lu Daoist's secrets, there's no need to disclose them. That's right. Senior Su is correct. The 4 now felt a subconscious reverence towards Lu Chongxing. Putting aside whether there were actually 2 late-stage Foundation establishment robber cultivators among the 5. The mere fact that Lu Chongxing and Lu Miaoge defeated 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators was enough to command their awe. After all, in the cultivation world, the accomplished lead the way and cultivation level speaks above all. It's not such a big secret. Plus, after last night's incident, I'm afraid it wouldn't stay hidden for long even if Lu wished to conceal it, Lu Chongxing said with a wry smile. I once obtained a talisman formation technique and also a dual cultivation technique. The technique my wife and I cultivate is precisely this dual cultivation technique, not only making our cultivation more efficient by half, but when we are together, our combat strength is unmatched, capable of overcoming those at higher stages. Last night we relied on a secret technique from this cultivation manual to temporarily boost our power to the middle stage of Foundation establishment. Then, catching those 5 robber cultivators off guard due to their arrogance, we used a combined strike secret technique, surprising them and ultimately subdued them with the help of talisman formation and talisman treasures. Lu Chongxing said while holding Lu Maiage's hand. What happened last night was bound to spread far and wide. Telling these four was akin to giving an advanced explanation to the outside world. Dual cultivation technique, temporarily boosting to the middle stage of foundation establishment. So that's how it was. Those robber cultivators were so rampant. They deserved their fate. We owe a great debt to Mountain Lord Lu and Lady Lu this time. The consequences could have been unimaginable otherwise. Upon hearing this, they all nodded in agreement, although the reasoning seemed slightly far-fetched. Aside from that, they truly couldn't think of any other explanation. Moreover, in the cultivation world, those capable of fighting beyond their own level, aside from the favored children of the heavens and true inheritors of the immortal sex, were indeed users of such dual cultivation techniques. Lu Chongqing had already demonstrated the power to defeat 3 great foundation establishment masters with his talisman formation prowess. Now, with this dual cultivation technique, talisman treasures, and talisman formations, the explanation was barely plausible. I've heard that the 2 city rulers of the Great Dream Immortal City cultivate such dual cultivation techniques. To think that the 2 of you Taoists have also cultivated such a technique. It is indeed a profound bond of love, enviable to all, Su Renguang said somewhat emotionally. Techniques as formidable as dual cultivation techniques usually have very stringent cultivation requirements. For instance, they may require an intuitive understanding between partners, a perfect matching of minds, or specific constitution types. Yet Lu Chongqing, known for having numerous wives and children, managed to practice such a technique with his wife, causing so much reflection. But learning that Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge practiced such a technique, possessing the battle prowess of the late foundation establishment stage, starting today not only for his Yushui Su family but even the beast-taming Su family, they would have to reconsider their stance towards Bai Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain. For the couple had only broken through to the foundation establishment a few years back and already boasted such power. What if the 2 both advanced to the middle or late stages of foundation establishment? Their combat capability was unfathomable. There could well be foundation establishment cultivators on par with false core or even core formation. The city rulers of the Great Dream Immortal City also practiced dual cultivation techniques? Chapter 722. Yun Wanshang. If I had brought him back to the Qingyun sect at that time, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows raised as he said. He was naturally aware of Great Dream Immortal City, one of the 3 great immortal cities in Jiang country. However, compared to Jiuxiao Immortal City and Azure Phoenix Immortal City, Great Dream Immortal City was somewhat lacking and much more low profile. Located in the northern reaches of Jiang country, set within Great Dream Marsh, it was not only remote, but also had a much harsher environment. It was nowhere near the sanctuary for loose cultivators that is Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Moreover, the city lords of Great Dream Immortal City didn't have a reputation as resounding as that of Azure Phoenix Immortal, the number 1 loose cultivator in Jiang country. Indeed, I've heard about this from the elders as well. The 2 city lords of Great Dream Immortal City are a dual cultivation couple, both in the mid-nascent soul stage, but they cultivate a dual cultivation technique that makes them a match for many cultivators in the core formation late stage. It's precisely because of this that they could establish Great Dream Immortal City. Su Renguang remarked thus. As he spoke, he complimented. Perhaps in the future, Lu Mountain Lord and Lady Lu could break through core formation like the 2 city lords of Great Dream, becoming famous throughout Jiang country. Su Daoist jests. The achievements I have today are already more than I could have hoped for, thanks to fortune and chance. I dare not entertain such lofty aspirations, Lu Chongqing said with a wry smile, shaking his head. He didn't continue with the idle chat and instead said with a serious expression, The reason I've summoned you all is to discuss a matter of importance. Although last night's incident with the robber cultivators was contained, it still had a significant impact on the marketplace and requires a plan of action. Moreover, I was thinking we could use this opportunity to hold an auction to slightly increase the fame and foot traffic of our Red Leaf Valley market, Lu Chongqing said aloud. As a marketplace established upon a second-rank middle-grade spiritual land, Red Leaf Valley's annual income was noticeably low. Thus, after discussing with Lu Miaoge last night, he thought they could use this chance to boost the reputation and foot traffic of Red Leaf Valley. After all, Red Leaf Valley Marketplace was also a foundation of their family business, and he felt it was necessary to invest effort into it. You can decide on the measures and auction, Changsheng. Lu Yuanzhong promptly stated his stance. Nowadays, he increasingly deferred to Lu Changsheng's opinions. After all, Lu Miage's foundation establishment was facilitated by Lu Changsheng, and his injuries had been treated by both Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. Even the cultivation technique that now served as the foundation of his Qingzhou Mountain was provided by Lu Changsheng. In such circumstances, he naturally knew what he should do. Regardless of Lu Changsheng's actions, he would not mistreat Qingzhou Mountain. That's right, Lu Daoist, you can make the decisions on this matter. Bai Yunyang also promptly remarked from the side. Seeing that both Qingzhou Mountain and Hundred Birds Lake were of the same opinion, Patriarch Zheng of the Zheng family naturally couldn't object. As for Su Renguang, although he had come here and Wugong Ridge Zheng family was a vassal to his Su family, in such circumstances, he couldn't say much either. In the end, they all deferred to Lu Changsheng to make the decision. Lu Changsheng paused. As for these matters, he had only discussed a rough idea with Lu Miaoge yesterday and had not yet come up with a detailed plan. He then voiced his preliminary thoughts. Compensate for the damage to the commercial street and implement certain beneficial policies for the entire marketplace, such as entry fees, house rentals, and taxation, among other things. Then, by generating buzz, they would hold an auction in half a year, with the aim of hosting one annually thereafter, to maintain the marketplace's foot traffic and popularity. After hearing this, Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and Su Renguang all made certain additions based on the foundation laid out. Their experiences in managing and growing their families made them more seasoned in this regard. Regarding the shops in the merchant street that were damaged, compensation would be split according to the four families' ownership stakes in the marketplace. However, considering the heavy toll it took on Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge to suppress the robber cultivators last night, the Bai family and the Zheng family would each take on an extra 10% of the cost. After finalizing the details of the plan and the auction, the matter was brought to a conclusion. As for the specific arrangements and implementation in the marketplace, there was no need for Lu Changsheng to worry further. Several days later, as the defensive formation of Red Leaf Valley Market opened, news about the 5 core formation robbers who made trouble in Red Leaf Valley Market and were suppressed by Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge quickly spread to the neighboring family forces and even throughout the entire Qingyun region. Lu Changsheng of Blue Lake Mountain, who single-handedly suppressed 3 core formation members from the Yu family and established the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family 3 years ago, has now, along with his wife, suppressed 5 core formation robbers. It's terrifying. Is it true? Could it just be Lu Changsheng raising his profile through such means? Right, they are only at the early stage of foundation establishment. How could they possibly kill 5 core formation robbers? Rumor has it that Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge practice a dual cultivation technique and their combat power rivals that of great cultivators in the core formation late stage, and with their combined secret techniques, they can even kill cultivators in the core formation late stage. This previously insignificant son-in-law has grown to such an extent. Talisman formation arts, dual cultivation techniques. Apart from false core immortals, it seems that ordinary great cultivators in the core formation late stage would not be a match for this couple, right? The Lu family of Blue Lake Mountain, Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain. I always felt that Lu Changsheng had uncommon fortune, already capable of suppressing 3 core formation members from the Yu family using talisman formation arts just after establishing his foundation. To think he possesses such a supreme legacy. It seems the Lu family of Blue Lake Mountain is on the rise. Many surrounding family forces and even loose cultivators were all abuzz with discussions about Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. This incident also reached Qingyun sect. To have wiped out 5 core formation robber cultivators, and among them were even 2 in the core formation late stage. It's hard to believe that, in just a few years, Lu Daoist has grown to such a state. Zhao Qingqing and Han Lin had also received this news and were utterly astounded. They are still in the Qi refinement realm, striving towards foundation establishment. Chapter 723, Yun Wanshang. If I had brought him back to the Qingyun sect at that time, Lu Changsheng, however, had already amassed a record of slaying 8 foundation establishment cultivators, causing his reputation to soar within the Qingyun region, especially Zhao Qingqing, who thought back to the past few years, her visits to Bai Lake Mountain to provide guidance on spirit plants, and her several encounters with Lu Chongqing. He was always so gentle and refined, with a peaceful and indifferent demeanor that was as refreshing as a spring breeze, engendering fondness. He bore no resemblance to a mighty mountain master with the formidable power to slay 8 foundation-building great cultivators. My brother-in-law is really extraordinary, Zhao Qingqing mused. Xia Zhaoyang, upon hearing news of Lu Chongqing, was also filled with emotion. Although he did not interact much with Lu Chongqing because of his sister, he had paid a lot of attention and knew quite a lot about him. He was unremarkable in his earlier years, but after his breakthrough to foundation establishment, his rise has been meteoric and astonishing. It's been a while since I visited Xingyue and Yunlu. It would be a good opportunity to share this news with them, Xia Zhaoyang thought, intending to check on how his niece and his niece by marriage were doing. After all, as his brother-in-law had sent them to the Qingyun sect, it was only natural for him to take extra care and pay attention to them, not to mention clinging to Lu Changsheng's coattails. Even without that, he felt it necessary to do so, because of the kindness Lu Chongqing had shown him and his sister. Qingyun sect, Enforcement Hall. Lu Chongqing, Lu Miaoge, dual cultivation techniques, slain 5 foundation establishment robber cultivators, including 2 at the foundation establishment late stage. Yun Wanshang looked at the message in the jade slip in her hand. Within the Qingyun sect's jurisdiction, matters involving robber cultivators are handled by the Enforcement Hall. When the incident involving the robber cultivators being sent to the bell by the 4 major families was reported to the Qingyun sect, she was made aware of it. However, as the Qingyun sect was short-staffed and Xiao Xie was at Bai Lake Mountain, she only instructed her subordinates to perform a cursory investigation, not taking it too seriously. She never expected the incident to escalate to such a degree. 5 foundation establishment robber cultivators, and among them 2 who were at the foundation establishment late stage. Even though she, as a nascent soul immortal, did not see foundation establishment as significant, such combat prowess was undeniable and not to be underestimated anywhere. Yet, these robber cultivators were subdued and killed by Lu Chongqing and his wife. Dual cultivation techniques? Dual cultivation techniques? Yun Wanshang gazed at the message in the jade slip, feeling an inexplicable irritability surge within her. She had gradually let go of her thoughts about Lu Chongqing, but his actions and deeds kept entering her sight, as if to say that she had misjudged him. The once thought to be a futureless Qi refinement youth was actually a shallow water flood dragon. Now, all his actions were like that of a flood dragon entering the sea, a tiger returning to its mountain. If Yun Wanshang couldn't help thinking, had she taken Lu Chongqing directly back to the Qingyun sect at the beginning, whether he would still have achieved this much. If he had achieved this much under her guidance, and they had become Tao companions with her spirit-nurturing energy, he might even have a chance for a nascent soul future. But the more she thought about her spirit-nurturing energy, the more agitated Yun Wanshang became, feeling an intense sense of frustration. With a bang, her palm struck the jade table in front of her, shattering it into dust. Qingyun sect, a golden and splendid grand hall. Lu Chongqing cough cough cough. An old crone with white hair and a wrinkled face looked at the information in her hands, her dim and cloudy eyes showing hatred, her hands as gnarled as pine bark trembling slightly. But the more she read about the martial achievements of Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge, the deeper the sense of powerlessness that gripped Lady Meng. Because of the beast calamity in the Wanshou mountain range, she had come out of Shenin Cave ahead of time to assist the spirit-taming sect in suppressing the beast tide. Having been tasked with redeeming herself through her contributions, she had been leading the front lines, and as a result, she had been severely injured during the beast tide. Already advanced in years with merely over 30 years of life remaining, this serious injury had caused her condition to drastically deteriorate, cutting her lifespan by nearly half. She blamed all of this on Lu Chongqing. Yet now, seeing his and Lu Miaoge's record of killing 5 foundation establishment robber cultivators, including 2 at the late stage, she felt powerless. Because she realized that in her current state, she might not even be a match for Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge. Even if she fought with all her might and could potentially kill the couple, she would suffer a heavy price, possibly even immolation. Alas! A long, forlorn, and powerless sigh echoed in the grand hall. Lady Meng's tightly clenched hands loosened, trembling slightly. Even though she was still capable of fighting, she could not risk everything for revenge. She had a family reliant on her, especially after Meng Yibai's death. To ensure the continuance of her family, she had increased her contributions to its cultivation, eventually producing a promising junior in the past few years. Thus, she had to stay alive as long as possible to stabilize the family. Chapter 724. Su Ruyan. This is my only chance in life. _1 by Lake Mountain. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Lu Chongsheng was recounting the events of the Red Leaf Valley Market to Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xia. I didn't expect that the Qi refiner robbery cultivator who fled all those years ago not only made a breakthrough in Foundation establishment but also brought along 4 Foundation establishment robbery cultivators within 10 years, said Ling Zixiao, drinking the spiritual wine brewed by Lu Chongsheng, somewhat emotional. 5 Foundation establishment robbery cultivators, 2 of which were at the late stage of Foundation establishment. This level of power, let alone in a small place like the Red Leaf Valley Market, even in the Juxiao Immortal City, could not be underestimated. In her opinion, this group of robbery cultivators was exceptionally unlucky to have run into Lu Chongsheng. Had it not been for Lu Chongsheng, perhaps both the Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 major families would have fallen into the hands of these robbery cultivators. Compared to Ling Zixiao's calm and indifference, Xiao Xia was more surprised. She knew that Lu Chongsheng had many cards up his sleeve, but she had never imagined that Lu Chongsheng's combat prowess could be so astonishing. Yet when she thought about the 3rd-rank talisman, her daughter's pet beast, the Mount Sumeru Tree King, the spiritual eye spring, and so on, she felt somewhat relieved. Indeed, this person must have had quite the fortuitous encounter. In his hands, he not only obtained a talisman treasure, but also acquired a peripheral sect-level cultivation method and an ancient treasure map from an ancient relic site. Lu Chongsheng said with a laugh, not hiding anything from the 2 women. A peripheral sect-level cultivation method, treasure map, an ancient relic site? Ling Zixiao was somewhat surprised to hear this. Both a peripheral sect-level cultivation method and chances related to such ancient relic sites are exceedingly rare. Having such items indicated that the man had definitely experienced extraordinary adventures and gained great opportunities. Zixiao, if you're interested, have a look, said Lu Chongsheng, taking out the pan-yuan turning technique and the treasure map for the 2 women to examine. The 2 women felt a warm current flow in their hearts as they saw Lu Chongsheng sharing such rare treasures with them so openly. After examining the cultivation method, Xiao Xia commented, "This cultivation method is suitable for cultivators with earth attribute spiritual roots. It integrates body refinement and is steady and solid, helping to overcome bottlenecks, ranking it as a top-tier method. The only issue is that the method is incomplete, allowing cultivation only up to the core formation stage. Yes, it's already considered a top-tier method. It would be excellent if someone within the family could comprehend and cultivate it," Lu Chongsheng added. He would place these newly acquired cultivation techniques in his family's sutra pavilion, so his children could choose what to cultivate based on their comprehension and spiritual root attributes. If any prodigies emerged, he, as their father, would personally teach them systematic cultivation methods. "Husband, this treasure map seems to indicate a relic located within the Myriad Beasts mountain range," said Ling Zixiao, scrutinizing the treasure map. "The Myriad Beasts mountain range?" Lu Chongsheng's eyebrows rose. He had only glanced at the treasure map briefly upon obtaining it and hadn't looked at it in detail. "I'm not particularly interested in this stuff. I'm planning to auction off this treasure map at the market's auction event. I'm sure it will fetch a good price," Lu Chongsheng said with a smile. He felt indifferent towards such treasure maps and ancient relic sites, so he planned to sell them for money. In the cultivation world, many cultivators are interested in these kinds of relic sites, and some cultivators even specialize in buying information related to such relics and dungeons, exploring them one by one. "Husband, if you plan to auction it at the Red Leaf Valley Market, getting a good price might be a bit difficult," Ling Zixiao said with a light laugh. She meant that most cultivators in the area were at the early or middle stage of foundation establishment, with fewer loose cultivators. In such a scenario, few people would be willing to spend a lot of money. Additionally, items like treasure maps are typically sold once off. That is, after the auction, they are not easy to sell for a high price. "We'll see about that when the time comes," Lu Chongqing said casually. He was quite laid back about the matter, feeling that as long as it could be sold for a good price, it was fine. MHA. Ling Zixiao didn't say more and picked up the pan-yuan turning technique to start reading. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing suddenly remembered that the cultivation technique Ling Zixiao was practicing was an exquisite level technique. Now that her meridians and dantian were gradually healing, she could probably attempt to cultivate in another 3 to 5 years. Although an exquisite level technique was already decent, if his family could afford it, of course, he wanted to provide Ling Zixiao with a more advanced technique. Lu Chongqing considered his current cultivation methods but wasn't sure which one might be suitable for her. Methods like the 7 luminaries and 100 refinements were okay, but not exactly fitting. The yin-yang harmony technique and 99 mystical talisman scripture were clearly unsuitable. The Black Dragon Codex was decent, but Lu Chongqing had his reservations. As for the Tai Shengshui Ju, this technique could only be cultivated one-on-one, and since he and Lu Miaoge were already practicing it, Ling Zixiao naturally couldn't cultivate it. "Let's wait and see, or maybe ask Zixiao herself later on," Lu Chongqing pondered internally, deciding to see if he could later acquire a technique suitable for Ling Zixiao. "Husband, what's on your mind?" Ling Zixiao, noticing Lu Chongqing gazing at her while seemingly lost in thought, asked softly. "Nothing much. I also acquired a second-rank formation path inheritance and insights from that robbery cultivator. Have a look and see if it's useful," Lu Chongqing replied nonchalantly, producing the inheritance he had taken from the effeminate man. Although Ling Zixiao was already a second-rank array master, as both a talisman master, an alchemist, a puppet master, a wine master, and a spiritual slaughterer, he clearly knew that each skill was incredibly complex. Unless one had help like himself, it was impossible for inheritances or individuals to cover everything. A second-rank formation path inheritance, insights in formation? Ling Zixiao's face showed a touch of delight as she received the 2 jade slips. "Xiu, come, take a look at these spiritual artifacts and see if there's anything you like." Chapter 725. Su Ruyan. This is my only chance in life. At this moment, Lu Chongqing took out several spiritual artifacts and said to Xiao Xia, "When it comes to giving gifts, naturally one should not favor one over another. I already have 2 spiritual artifacts. I won't need these." Xiao Xia glanced over them and revealed a slight smile, whispering, "Agreed." Lu Chongqing did not insist, knowing that Xiao Xia was not one to stand on ceremony. He continued, "Zi Xiao, Xiu, I plan to enter seclusion for a few days in the coming days. Should there be any matters at home or in the Red Leaf Valley market, they'll trouble you to take care of them." Having said this, Lu Chongqing was ready to retreat and engage in alchemy. "All right, my lord, please rest assured," Ling Zixiao said with a faint smile. "If there are any issues at the market, I will go over." Xiao Xia nodded gently. "Good. I'll leave it to you then," Lu Chongqing said with a smile. After spending 3 days with his wives at home, Lu Chongqing went to the alchemy room and began his seclusion to practice alchemy. Although he had mastered level 2 alchemy, he had yet to prepare foundation establishment elixirs. To be on the safe side and in case any issues arose during alchemy, Lu Chongqing also decided to refine a few batches of spirit-nurturing elixirs and wisdom-opening elixirs to get a feel for it. Moreover, after a while, Su Renguang would be delivering 10 green-horned fish and ink jade serpents. He had to refine these 20 demon beasts into Blackwater Dragon spirit weapons. So he needed to prepare some nurturing elixir medicines in advance. A month later, the unadorned and spacious alchemy room. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Lu Chongqing was fully engrossed, looking at the purple cloud pill furnace in front of him, his hands constantly forming spells to control the earth fire with his fire-controlling technique. After an unknown amount of time, seeing the spiritual mechanism enveloping the inside of the pill furnace and strands of medicinal fragrance spreading out, he immediately sent a series of spells into the pill furnace. He then shouted deeply, performing the opening furnace spell, "Open! Buzz!" The lid of the furnace burst open, rolling steam ascended, and a brilliant glow filled the space. Retrieve! Lu Chongsheng, seeing the billowing steam, drew the 3 foundation establishment elixirs, radiating with spiritual light, into his palm. The spiritual light on the foundation establishment elixirs gradually faded, revealing 3 lustrous, plump, and warm elixirs with an overflowing medicinal scent. 3 elixirs formed, but only one is a supreme foundation establishment elixir. The other 2 are merely premium foundation establishment elixirs. Indeed, the first attempt at making foundation establishment elixirs is still a few degrees short of perfect. Lu Chongsheng looked at the patterns on the elixir medicines and exhaled deeply. He knew that producing 3 supreme foundation establishment elixirs was not so easy. Not only did it require exceptional alchemy skills, but the pill furnace and earth fire also had to meet high standards. Nevertheless, 3 elixir medicines with 1 supreme and 2 premium. If word got out, it would astonish many, and countless people would come seeking his alchemy services. However, this is enough. The supreme foundation establishment elixir can increase the probability of successful foundation establishment by more than 30%. By giving this supreme foundation establishment elixir to Qingzhou Mountain, failure should certainly be avoided, right? Lu Chongsheng murmured to himself, looking at the foundation establishment elixir in his hand. A premium foundation establishment elixir could enhance the odds of a successful foundation establishment by more than 20%, while the supreme one exceeds 30%. The gap may seem small, but this slight difference in medicinal strength could cause the price of the elixir to surge by several folds. Given that Qingzhou Mountain could only afford success and not failure, Lu Chongsheng planned to give the supreme foundation establishment elixir to Qingzhou Mountain. As for Bai Ling's talent, he felt the foundation establishment elixir was just to ensure an extra measure of success. After placing the 3 foundation establishment elixirs into 3 porcelain bottles, Lu Chongsheng walked out of the alchemy room and headed to the Lu family mansion. Husband, half a month ago, the elder ancestor of the Su family came. Lu Miaoyun, seeing Lu Chongsheng, immediately showed joy. She informed him that the elder ancestor of the Su family had brought 20 aquatic demon beasts. Since Lu Chongsheng was in seclusion, she did not disturb him, and directly agreed to the exchange, paying 5,000 spirit stones. Currently, these demon beasts were still in the spiritual pet bag. Good. This was already agreed upon with Patriarch Su, and the price is not an issue, Lu Chongsheng said warmly. According to the price mentioned by Su Renguang before, this transaction even rounded up to a whole number, offering a considerable discount. Afterward, Lu Miaoyun expressed that 3 days ago, she had finally made contact with the luminous treasure tree, enabling this precious tree to become her life-bound spiritual plant. Next, she could start refining the luminous treasure tree into her life-bound spiritual root. However, refining a life-bound spiritual root meant once the process began, she could not leave the spirit plant for too long. Therefore, she wanted to take advantage of this time to return to Qingzhou Mountain for a while, to spend some time with her grandmother. Yuner, I'll accompany you in a few days, Lu Chongsheng said tenderly, taking his beloved wife's gentle hand. Knowing that once she began practicing the heavenly longevity technique, Lu Miaoyun would not be able to leave by Lake Mountain. It just so happened that he also needed to visit Qingzhou Mountain, so he revealed the matter of the foundation establishment elixir. After accompanying his wives and children at home for several days, Lu Chongsheng set out for Qingzhou Mountain with Lu Miaoyun and a few children. Since his son Lu Yun had married and taken 2 concubines, who were now both with child, Lu Chongsheng allowed him to stay home instead of accompanying them. After all, the son was grown up. There was no need to attend to him as one would a child. Grandmother. Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoyun arrived at the courtyard of the 4th elder. At the time, the 4th elder was instructing a few Lu family disciples on introductory talisman making. Chongsheng, Miaoyun, Little Rain, you are here? The 4th elder immediately greeted them with a smile, having taken the lifespan extension pill that Lu Chongsheng provided. Her complexion had greatly improved. Greetings, elder, aunt, and grand auntie. The Lu family disciples, some calling Lu Miaoyun aunt and others, in their teens, calling her grand auntie, looked at Lu Chongsheng with eyes full of respect, admiration, and reverence. These individuals, each with a semblance of talent for talisman making, could be said to have grown up listening to stories of Lu Chongqing. Chapter 726. Su Ruyan. This is my only chance in life. Knowing that Lu Chongqing rose step by step from a son-in-law of the Lu family, starting with talisman making, and became the famous foundation establishment ancestor known throughout the region. Haha, we're all family here. No need for formalities. Lu Chongqing, not one for pomp, waved his hand dismissively. He then had Lu Miaoyun accompany the fourth elder for a chat while he taught a class for these disciples of the Lu family. Chongqing, I appreciate your hard work. The fourth elder's face was full of smiles upon hearing that Lu Chongqing would teach. With his current status and identity, Lu Chongqing still showed such respect to his grandmother, which truly moved her beyond measure. Father-in-law, I have something to discuss with you and uncle. The next morning, Lu Chongqing sought out Lu Yuanding. Then they went to meet Lu Yuanzhong, ready to reveal the matter of the foundation establishment elixir. Afterward, the two made their way to Lu Yuanzhong's cave abode. Hearing that Lu Chongqing had something important, Lu Yuanzhong treated the matter with utmost seriousness and asked what it was. Under their gaze, Lu Chongqing produced a white jade porcelain vase. Upon opening the vase, a wave of medicinal fragrance filled the air, revealing an elixir with a crystal-clear hue and faintly laced with 3 silver stripes. Is this? Both Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding, seeing the elixir in the porcelain vase, were visibly shaken, their eyes reflecting surprise, shock, and delight. Yes, this is a foundation establishment elixir, Lu Chongqing said with a smile, seeing their reactions. Chongqing, where did you get this foundation establishment elixir from? With 3 elixir stripes. This is a supreme foundation establishment elixir. Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanzhong were immensely shocked. They never expected Lu Chongqing to actually possess a foundation establishment elixir. Although Lu Miaoge had briefly mentioned the foundation establishment of Lu Miaofeng and Lu Muping before, they had indeed not considered the possibility of a foundation establishment elixir. Obtained the materials from a robber cultivator and had it refined by someone. Lu Chongqing explained. Chongqing, you intend to use this foundation establishment elixir for... Although they guessed what Lu Chongqing implied by showing them the elixir, they still found it somewhat unbelievable. Father-in-law, uncle, as you know, Sister Miaoge and I practice a dual cultivation technique. Together our cultivation pace is much faster. So I was thinking, if there is a new foundation establishment in the family, Sister Miaoge would be able to concentrate on her cultivation. Lu Chongqing spoke out. Chongqing, foundation establishment elixirs are incredibly precious. I'm truly touched that you would offer it, but our family doesn't feel we deserve such a gift. Just name a price, and we will gather the spirit stones as quickly as possible. Lu Yuanzhong took a deep breath and said. He was keenly aware that the closer the two families were, the more important it was to be clear about interests, so as to prevent any rifts from forming. Moreover, accepting someone's generosity could put them under obligation. If they took too much advantage, it would not only lower their family status, but those married to Lu Chongqing like Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaohuan, and Lu Miaoyun would be affected as well. Well, in that case, 20,000 spirit stones. Lu Chongqing also did not insist and mentioned a price. The usual price for a genuine foundation establishment elixir was 20,000 spirit stones. However, if there was competition at an auction, the price could go up by a bit. And for a supreme foundation establishment elixir, it could even reach 30,000 spirit stones. Lu Chongqing's original intention was to give the elixir away. But after chatting with Lu Miaoge, and now that Lu Yuanzhong had brought it up, it turned into a half-gift, half-sale. How could that be fair? A standard foundation establishment elixir is worth at least 20,000 spirit stones, and yours is a supreme foundation establishment elixir, worth at least 30,000 spirit stones. Our family cannot let you suffer a loss. Lu Yuanzhong immediately shook his head. Uncle, I'm quite aware of the current situation in the family. Besides, Sister Miaoge contributed greatly in our fight against the robber cultivator. Moreover, there's no rush for the spirit stones. You can owe them for now. Lu Chongqing spoke with a light-hearted smile. He knew Qingzhou Mountain's present circumstances, Unless they sold off family assets, they couldn't possibly produce 20 to 30,000 spirit stones. Changsheng, Lu Yuanding looked at his son-in-law, patting his shoulder firmly, his eyes reddening with profound gratitude. Having once served as patriarch of the Lu family, his affection for the family ran deep, and his wish was to see Qingzhou Mountain thrive even more. Now, with Lu Changsheng's aid, not only had his daughter, Lu Miaoge, achieved foundation establishment, but his older brother's injury was also healed. Lu Changsheng even produced a supremely precious foundation establishment elixir, willing to gift it or sell it to them for a low price, which left him at a loss for words. He felt that the best thing he had ever done in his life was to bring Lu Changsheng into the Lu family and to marry his daughter to him. Currently, our children are still young and don't need this foundation establishment elixir. Father-in-law, please accept it. Just be prepared for a bit of effort once someone in the family breaks through foundation establishment. Lu Changsheng continued. He had a bit of self-interest in offering the foundation establishment elixir to Qingzhou Mountain, hoping Lu Miaoge would be at ease staying at by Lake Mountain. Changsheng, let's do this. Well, set the price at 30,000 spirit stones, but the spirit stones for now. Because currently, our family only has one foundation establishment spirit object, and we still need to procure 2 more suitable ones. Lu Yuanding took a deep breath and stated his decision. With Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge already contributing to the steady rise of Qingzhou Mountain, if another member advanced to foundation establishment, the family's future for 100 years would be worry-free and prospering, naturally leading to a significant increase in income. So, paying back these spirit stones later would be much easier. Agreed. Lu Changsheng, hearing this, did not persist. If Qingzhou Mountain really couldn't make ends meet, he could let Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan provide some guidance later on. Changsheng, currently only Miaofeng and Muping, have the potential for foundation establishment in our family. Who do you think is suitable? Chapter 727. Su Ruyan. This is my only chance in life. _4 At this time, Lu Yuanzhong spoke up and asked. Although he and Lu Changsheng were both at the foundation establishment level, he knew that Lu Changsheng was clearly at a higher level than himself. I'm not certain about this either, uncle. You can start by purchasing suitable foundation establishment spirit objects, and then make a decision based on them, Lu Changsheng said, mulling over it slightly. Alright, once we've acquired the foundation establishment spirit objects and are ready to plan for the foundation establishment, we'll discuss it properly, Lu Yuanzhong nodded. After finishing, he continued, Changsheng, you and Miaoge are currently in the limelight, and I feel that rushing the foundation establishment process would not be wise. If another member of our family breaks through to foundation establishment, it might negatively impact you and possibly bring about trouble. It may even cause the other families to hold us in awe, Lu Yuanzhong remarked. We will see about that when the time comes. Lu Changsheng felt that there was indeed some truth to that. Big brother, now that we have Changsheng and Miaoge holding down the fort, we can send Miaofeng or Muping to Qingyun Market for foundation establishment when the time comes. That way, our family's foundation establishment affairs will not be revealed outwardly for the time being. With him stationed at Qingzhou Mountain and with you overseeing the Red Leaf Valley Market, wouldn't that be adequate? Lu Yuanding, standing nearby, voiced his opinion. Seeing the foundation establishment elixir, he had already envisioned the day when Qingzhou Mountain would have 3 foundation establishment experts in residence. Indeed, this is a feasible plan. Lu Yuanzhong also smiled and nodded in agreement. Watching the two of them discussing matters post-foundation establishment, while nothing was set in stone, Lu Changsheng did not know what to say. In this way, the 3 of them settled the matter regarding the foundation establishment elixir. After staying at Qingzhou Mountain for nearly half a month, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoyan returned to Bai Lake Mountain. In the meantime, Lu Miaoge, having gone to Bai Lake Mountain to treat Ling Zixiao, also made a trip back to Qingzhou Mountain. After learning about the foundation establishment elixir, she too was deeply moved. You Shui Su family. Going out to gain experience? No, absolutely not. Su Renguang was beaming as he watched his precious granddaughter tame the heavenly fire mink. But when he heard Su Ruyan wanted to venture out for training, his eyebrows instantly knitted together, and he decisively refused. After all, How could he bear to let such a precious granddaughter go out for training? What if an accident occurred? Su Ruyan was at the 9th level of Qi refinement, and the family had long prepared the foundation establishment elixir and spirit objects for her. Once Su Ruyan reached the pinnacle of Qi refinement, she could attempt the foundation establishment. Grandfather, I was thinking that after gaining experience, I would come back to break through to foundation establishment. Haven't you always said that we cultivators should be brave and diligent, and only through sufficient trials can we achieve greatness in the future? Su Ruyan, with long fiery red hair and dressed in a luxurious golden red outfit, said in a clear tone. No, you can go out for training, but only after breaking through to foundation establishment. Grandfather can let you go out then, but absolutely not now. Su Renguang shook his head repeatedly, earnestly advising, Ruyan, you should just cultivate well at home now, and after breaking through to foundation establishment, Grandfather will arrange for you to go to the Myriad Beasts mountain range for training. Our main house has a stronghold in the Myriad Beasts mountain range, where our family's youths can train. When that time comes, you can train however you want. When Su Ruyan heard main house, an unfriendly chill suddenly appeared on her exquisitely beautiful face. Ruyan, be obedient. Su Renguang sighed lightly at the sight of his granddaughter's expression. His son had been crippled by someone else, and as a father he was naturally filled with rage. But such matters were legitimate in the clan competition, leaving him without recourse. I understand, grandfather. Su Ruyan nodded and did not continue to argue. Returning to her own room, Su Ruyan clenched her fists tightly, muttering to herself. Only by making a pact with a heaven-rank demon beast can I form a beastly Tao foundation and avenge my father. Now the heaven-rank demon beast is right before me. My only opportunity in this lifetime. I must not give up. Hong Lian Elder. Chapter 728. Seed of Law. Xiao Xie departs. One time flew, and in the blink of an eye 3 months had passed. Thanks to the battle at Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge had also made a name for themselves, gaining a bit of fame. So, during this period, quite a few loose cultivators and smaller families came to pledge their loyalty. Regarding this, Lu Chongsheng, Ling Zixiao, Lu Miaoge, and Xiao Xie had a brief discussion. Loose cultivators with a particular skill and a clean family background could be recruited as guest elders to the family. If they didn't have a particular skill, they could sign a servitude contract, a labor agreement. As for vassalage from smaller families, they weren't sought after at all. After all, the current prestige of Blue Lake Mountain was supported entirely by Lu Chongqing, Lu Miaoge, and Ling Zixiao. There was no power to expand externally. Such matters had to wait until the family's younger generation reached the energy refinement late stage before they could be sent out to establish a foothold and expand. Besides these two, there were also some female loose cultivators and daughters of small families who voluntarily came to Blue Lake Mountain to serve as slaves or maids, hoping to be noticed by Lu Chongsheng and marry into the Lu family. After all, the mountain master of Blue Lake Mountain's actions of taking wives, concubines, and fathering children were also widely known. If favored by the Lu ancestor, for many loose cultivators and daughters of small families, it would be like transforming into a phoenix and soaring above the branches. However, most cultivators also had self-awareness and set their sights on the sons and young masters of the Lu family. Over the years, as Lu family disciples like Lu Shenji, Lu Xing, Lu Yun, Lu Feng took wives and concubines, some of the surrounding families and loose cultivators also heard about it. As long as they married into the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, becoming a wife to a Lu family son, they would enjoy the benefits and treatment due to family disciples. Moreover, the mountain master of Blue Lake Mountain strongly encouraged childbirth. As long as a child was born, there would be rewards. If the child tested positive for a spiritual root, there would be additional rewards. All these benefits and treatments were very tempting to many loose cultivators and smaller families. After all, the current reputation and public opinion about Blue Lake Mountain was quite good. Its ancestor, Lu Chongsheng, was known for his loyalty and righteousness, in the prime of his life with astonishing combat power. As long as there were no accidents, the family could be carefree for 100 years. Moreover, marrying into Blue Lake Mountain not only meant enjoying high-rank welfare benefits and receiving cultivation, but their family could also benefit from some unspoken advantages. For example, the Su family, which had married off a daughter to Lu Shenji early on. Now, some smaller families, out of regard for Blue Lake Mountain, tended to treat the Su family with a bit more politeness, and would think twice before taking action against them. Furthermore, not long ago, the Su family obtained some business cooperation through this connection with Blue Lake Mountain. Even though it was just a small business distributing puppets, it was enough to draw envious looks. Alongside these female loose cultivators and marriages, there were also some male loose cultivators and scions of small families who aimed to marry a Lu family daughter and join the Lu family through marriage. Regarding these, Lu Chongqing was well aware, knowing that most saw it as an opportunity for profit. Luring people with benefits, how can one expect true loyalty? However, once they've joined my Lu family, then they'll have no say in the matter. Lu Chongqing chuckled lightly as he listened to Lu Miao's report. When he first established the family rules, he knew that cultivators would come to his family for the benefits. Female cultivators marrying into his family would enjoy the benefits of Lu family disciples. Male cultivators marrying into the Lu family would also receive Lu family benefits. As for this, Lu Changsheng's attitude was simple. As long as you are honest and contribute sufficiently, you won't be shortchanged. However, if you join his family and harbor other intentions, thinking of taking advantage, he would certainly not be polite. During this time, Lu Chongqing himself was not idle, managing to impregnate 2 concubines within the household. Worth mentioning, in this period, 2 female cultivators volunteered themselves, hoping to become his concubines. One was at the 9th level energy refinement with a 5th grade spiritual root, stating that as long as Lu Chongqing was willing to provide foundation establishment resources, she was willing to serve as his concubine for 20 years and bear 3 children. To this, Lu Chongqing told her to get lost. Though the woman had a 5th grade spiritual root, the value of such a spiritual root and cultivation level at White Jade Tower at most was 10 to 20,000. He truly didn't understand where she got the confidence to name such a price. Did she believe she had some exquisite treasure to offer? However, another woman called Luan Qing was not bad. 6th level energy refinement, 6th grade spiritual root, and also skilled in a craft called incense making. This woman's request was much simpler. She had wandered the cultivation world for a long time, realizing her prospects were bleak and sought to settle down and live a peaceful life. Having heard that the ancestor of Blue Lake Mountain was incomparably handsome and treated his wives and concubines extremely well, she came with admiration. After a simple background check, Lu Chongqing took this woman as a secondary wife. Furthermore, realizing this was a good way to take in concubines, he directly gifted her a high-rank breakthrough elixir so she could break through to the energy refinement late stage. In the future, after she bore 2 children, he would also help her open a fragrance shop. That day, a system notification sound rang out. Congratulations, host, for the birth of 50 offspring from your descendants, awarding 1 lottery chance. 50. Finally kind of a windfall. It made me wait quite a while. Lu Chongqing, upon hearing the system notification, showed a bit of joy on his face. Ever since he saw that the system granted child money for the 1st and 10th grandchild, but then saw no further grants, he had felt somewhat disheartened. Fortunately, the child money from the system finally came through. Knowing that the achievements in this realm through his children's offspring would be much higher than his own. But this pace is pretty fast. When I was diligent in fathering 50 children, it took me over 7 years. But now, the kids only took 4 years. Lu Chongqing remarked. Moreover, the fact that it took only just over 4 years was with few age-appropriate children being married off early. Now, as time passes and more of the children age, more and more are starting to marry, and this snowball will only gather momentum fast. Chapter 729. Seed of Law. Xiao Xie departs. Although there were many children, the aspect of spiritual roots was somewhat disappointing. In the entire generation of grandchildren, so far only 2 children possessed spiritual roots. One of them was recently born to a concubine of his son, Lu Yun. Therefore, in this regard, Lu Chongqing knew that they could only rely on those children in the family who had spiritual roots. But not many of these children with spiritual roots were currently married. His sons Lu Pingon, Lu Chuanjin, and his daughters Lu Rui, Lu Xiaoru, all had no plans of marrying yet. Although his elderly father was willing to urge them, the children would definitely agree, but he was not going to force his children to marry and have children just for the sake of sweepstakes. System, draw a lottery. Lu Chongqing went to the study and silently chanted in his mind. Instantly, the system lottery wheel appeared. A golden light began to spin along with it. Before long, the golden light stopped on the other category. Ding! Congratulations to the host on obtaining a seed of law, Sword Charging Bull's Might. The reward has been issued to the system space. The host can check it at any time. A pale golden halo of a sword pattern appeared along with the system's notification sound. Seed of Law, Sword Charging Bull's Might? What is this? Lu Chongqing raised his eyebrows upon seeing the reward he had drawn. In his many years in the cultivation world, he had never heard of something like a Seed of Law. Immediately, with a slight movement of his mental spirit, he checked the Seed of Law in the system. Seed of Law, Sword Charging Bull's Might. Rank, 4th rank. Explanation. When the light of the sun and moon shines, the treasure sword charges at the bull. The recipient's natural sword Dao talent increases. Sword Qi is sharp and domineering, swallowing the stars, fearless and defiant. With a proud and unyielding spirit, 4th rank, enhances sword Dao talent, sharp sword Qi, swallowing stars? Can this Seed of Law enhance a person's talent? Lu Chongqing was surprised as he looked at the Seed of Law before him. He knew that in the cultivation world, anything that could improve or enhance someone else's talent was extremely rare. This Seed of Law before him could enhance sword Dao talent, and with a rank of 4th rank, it was clearly extraordinary. Lu Changsheng's spirit stirred slightly as he extracted the Seed of Law from the system space to examine its detailed effects. Immediately, a pale golden light, the size of a thumb, appeared before him. About the specific effects of this Seed of Law, Lu Chongqing became instantly aware. This Seed of Law had the effects of elevating one's talent, enhancing perception, harmonizing one's nature, improving one's cultivation rank, and filling in any deficiencies. After use, not only is the Sword Dao talent enhanced, but future cultivation and comprehension of Sword Dao techniques would yield twice the result with half the effort. The whole person would also be subtly influenced by the Seed of Law, gradually becoming proud and unyielding in nature, fearless and courageous, striving with vigor. If one's personality is naturally aligned with the Seed of Law, it could maximize its effects. From then on, one could make rapid progress on the path of the Sword Dao, and the mana and sword Qi cultivated would be several times more ferocious than that of ordinary people. How does this Seed of Law resemble the sword bone among the sword cultivators' constitutions? Lu Chongqing thought of the sword bone among the sword cultivators' constitutions as he looked at the effects of the Seed of Law. In the books he had read, it was written that those born with sword bone would exhibit extraordinary sword Dao talent from the moment they held a sword. When cultivating sword Dao techniques, not only would they progress swiftly, but their power would also surpass that of others. As for temperament, having cultivated the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, Lu Chongqing could only say many a sword cultivator were so by nature. Because only with such a temperament could one traverse the sword Dao faster and farther. Who should I give this Seed of Law to? Lu Chongqing looked at the Seed of Law in his hand, stroking his chin. Although he cultivated the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, he didn't have much interest in this kind of Seed of Law. One reason was, he had the system's enlightenment, which made any additional sword Dao talent unnecessary for understanding the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. Another reason was that this Seed of Law would subtly influence someone else's nature. He was very clear about his own temperament and had no desire to change it. Therefore, in his view, the Seed of Law was definitely meant for his children. After all, if the temperament matched, the effect of the Seed of Law would be quite remarkable. It was like a small spiritual body. Pingon, Xianji, Rui, Chuanjin, Yuner, Lu Xing. Lu Chongqing considered his current children and felt that none were quite suitable. The next moment, he immediately thought of his son Lu Qingshan, who was far away in another country. This son had a Gengjin body constitution, and Lu Chongqing had intended to teach him the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. However, due to an accident, he was taken in as a disciple by a nascent soul immortal and brought to the Jinyang sect in Yu country. Although this son was mischievous and undisciplined, Lu Chongqing knew that his son was proud and obstinate by nature, with an indomitable spirit in his bones. Overall, he was well suited for this seat of law. I wonder what techniques Qingshan is practicing in the Jinyang sect. Lu Chongqing toyed with the seat of law, murmuring to himself. Although his son's spiritual root was metal-leaning and he possessed a Gangjin body constitution, which was suitable for sword techniques, he did not know which cultivation technique his son's nascent soul master was teaching him in the Jinyang sect. He only knew that his son's cultivation progress was indeed very rapid. He had already broken through to the 4th level of energy refinement. At this rate, before he turned 30, Lu Qingshan would certainly be able to break through to foundation establishment. Once Zi Xiao has fully recovered from her injuries and has finished setting up the divine with great formation, I will take a trip to the Jinyang sect. Lu Chongqing took a deep breath and murmured to himself. He had long promised Lu Miaohuan and Lu Miaoge that he would visit Yu country's Jinyang sect to see his children. If his son Lu Qingshan was practicing sword techniques and his temperament remained the same, then in his view, this seat of law could not be more suitable for Lu Qingshan. Jinyang sect, Tian Yuan Peak. Qingshan, why did you get into a conflict with others? In the grand hall, a voluptuous woman in her 30s, wearing a long red dress, spoke lazily. Chapter 730. Seat of Law. Xiao Xie departs. That bastard dared to bully little Zhuer. Am already being lenient by not killing him. Lu Qingshan, dressed in a golden and white magical robe, clenched his fist inside his sleeve as he spoke coldly. You're only at the 4th level energy refinement, and the other party has reached the 6th level. How could you kill him? Tianyuan, true immortal, looking at her disciple with a wine gourd to her red lips, took a sip with apparent nonchalance and said, because he doesn't dare to kill me. Lu Qingshan, standing tall and straight before the Tianyuan true immortal, spoke assuredly. Oh, and you're not afraid that killing him would bring trouble? Among sects, it's a grave sin to kill a fellow disciple. Yan Yuan rested an elbow on the armrest, her head propped in her hand, her hair cascading down, and her lush, bare legs crossed as she said with interest, afraid. But if someone dares to bully my sister, as her brother, it's my duty to seek revenge. Lu Qingshan's clenched fist relaxed, and he then said with a smile, Jinyun Peak and our Tianyuan Peak have never gotten along. They are clearly provoking us on purpose. How can you, master, simply stand by and watch? Besides, if I at the Qi refinement 4th level manage to slaughter someone at the 6th level, I'd be bringing honor to our Tianyuan Peak and to you, master. Would you still punish me for that? Lu Qingshan said so. Your temperament really is. Upon hearing this, Yan Yuan cracked a smile, waved her hand and said, all right, I'll take care of this matter. There are plenty of wild beasts on Tian Yuan Peak. If you're hungry, you can hunt on the mountain as practice. If you're really starving and can't find any game, you can ask Xiao Bai for help. Yan Yuan said so. Yes, master. Lu Qingshan bowed in response. All right, off you go, or little Zhuer will start worrying again, thinking that I'm blaming you. Yan Yuan shook her head gently and took another sip from her wine gourd. Watching Lu Qingshan leave the hall, she revealed a hint of chill on her otherwise lazy and casually beautiful face. I, Yan Yuan, am often away from the sect and don't manage affairs, but they really think they can bully my Tianyuan Peak so easily. Brother! As soon as Lu Qingshan left the hall, Lu Qingzhu hurried over with concern. Little Zhuer, master was just asking what happened. There's no need to worry? Lu Qingshan looked at his sister, immediately showing a carefree smile and ruffling her head as he said, Brother, don't fight with others next time. Does it hurt? Lu Qingzhu looked at Lu Qingshan's somewhat swollen cheek, her eyes red with concern as she spoke softly. It doesn't hurt at all. This time I was a bit off, I couldn't slaughter him. Next time something like this happens, I'll definitely take down that bastard. Lu Qingshan said with an easy grin. It's my fault for being useless. I can't help brother at all, and instead, I'm just a burden. Lu Qingzhu's eyes teared up as she spoke. How could that be? It's a brother's duty to protect his sister. If something similar happens in the future, you must tell me sooner. Don't keep it to yourself. Understand? Lu Qingshan said with a gentle smile, lightly flicking Lu Qingzu's delicate little nose. After spending some time with Lu Qingzhu and telling the young girl to rest, Lu Qingshan ran to the back mountain and shouted towards the sky, "Fairy crane, fairy crane! What is it, boy?" Soon after, a majestic and handsome crane, over 10 feet tall with fiery red plumage, swooped down from the sky. "Look, I was beaten up in a fight today. It hurts like hell. Give me some of your divine saliva." Lu Qingshan pointed to the injuries on his cheek and arm and spoke up. "Go on, trying to trick this fairy into giving you divine saliva again? Nothing doing." Upon hearing this, the crane spread its wings and took off. Yet, just as it took flight, seeing Lu Qingshan's appearance, it still threw down a small porcelain bottle saying, "Fine, fine. Hey, race a bottle for you, boy. Hee hee. Thanks a lot." Lu Qingshan caught the small porcelain bottle and shouted his thanks to the white crane. Half a month later, by Lake Mountain, inside the Lu family mansion, the Hall of Deliberation. This day marked the Lu family's annual family meeting. Lu Chongqing sat in the main seat, listening to reports from his wife and children below. This year, the overall situation for By Lake Mountain was still in deficit. However, with the family disciples becoming proficient in their trades, and with an increase in the number of spirit farmers, spirit plant carers, fishermen, and beast tamers, the revenue from the spirit fields and fisheries showed steady improvement. The puppet workshop and wine brewing shop had also started to turn a profit, so the overall deficit wasn't large, amounting to a total loss of 6,892 spirit stones. The reason for a deficit of over 6,000 spirit stones was entirely due to the large expenses and outlay for the Lu family disciples. One reason was that the benefits provided to the Lu family disciples were relatively generous. Additionally, the children in the family were gradually getting married. Like my son Lu Yun, who had already married one and brought in 3. Other sons who wished to marry also could mostly take wives with spiritual roots. In such circumstances, the family's expenses had significantly increased. As for these expenses, Lu Chongqing had no objections. After all, as long as his children were willing to marry and have children, he would be happy, even if it meant a little more expense. After briefly summarizing the year, Lu Chongqing saw that the family was progressing steadily and felt that in another 2 years, he could choose a few of his children to appoint as the family head and elders. In that way, he would be completely free from worrying about these trivial matters. After the family meeting concluded, it was time for Xiao Xie to return to Qingyun sect to report back. She had been assigned to situate at By Lake Mountain for 3 years, and now that the time was up, she must return to Qingyun sect. 7 days later, Xiao Xie said farewell to her daughter Lu Wangshu. She expressed that she had to leave and would come to see her whenever she had time. "Mother?" Upon hearing that her mother was leaving, Lu Wangshu's eyes immediately reddened, and she cried out sobbingly. Initially, she and Xiao Xie were not very close. But over these 3 years, aside from her daily meditation times, Xiao Xie spent most of her time doting on her daughter, indulging her every whim. So now, hearing that her mother was leaving, Lu Wangshu was extremely sad and reluctant to part. "Little Wangshu, don't cry. Mother will come to visit you when I have time." Xiao Xie, seeing her daughter like this, instantly felt a bit flustered. Her beautiful face was filled with confusion as she comforted her. "If little Wangshu misses mother, you can also come to see me any time." Lu Chongqing, watching this scene, crouched down and comforted his daughter in a gentle voice. He had long realized why many cultivators were reluctant to start families and have children. It was still manageable during the Qi refinement realm. But when a cultivator reached the foundation establishment stage, they may close off to meditate for several months, or even 1 or 2 years. If they reached the core formation stage, this period could extend to several years or even decades. This also meant there would be no time to accompany their children. Possibly after one meditation session, the children would have grown up, leading to an indifferent relationship between them. Or, due to the lack of guidance, they might develop a problematic character and bring disaster upon themselves. In the case of Xiao Xie, Spending so much time accompanying her daughter was indeed a hindrance to her cultivation. As for himself, his cultivation was completely casual, wholly reliant on consuming pills and exploiting loopholes. "Mother, I will miss you." Lu Wangshu, smart and sensible since childhood, wiped the corner of her eyes and spoke quietly. "Mother will miss little Wangshu too." Xiao Xia pursed her lips and spoke, even harboring a thought to continue staying by Lake Mountain to accompany her daughter. Sigh. Lu Chongqing watched this scene and was tempted to let Xiao Xia take Lu Wangshu to Qingyun's sect. But knowing Xiao Xia's personality, she would dote on the child every day if she took her with her, which might severely hinder her cultivation. Moreover, once Xiao Xia returned to her sect, there would be other duties, and she wouldn't have much time to care for the child. Eventually, after a heartfelt farewell between mother and daughter, Xiao Xia departed. "It's okay, Daddy is here. Come on, Daddy will take you fishing." Lu Chongqing, looking at his daughter who still had somewhat red eyes, said soothingly. Now that Xiao Xia had left, he, as the father, would naturally spend more time with his daughter, helping her move past her sadness as quickly as possible. "Daddy, I want to hear a story." Lu Wangshu looked up with her little head and said, "All right." Lu Chongqing smiled and said, "Once upon a time, there was a mountain. On the mountain there was a temple. Inside the temple there was in a marketplace. Hong Lian Sr., I have gathered all the materials required to use the secret divine technique. Can I now stealthily enter by Lake Mountain?" Su Ruyan spoke in her mind. By Lake Mountain is merely a second-rank great formation. With my seamless celestial clothes divine technique, sneaking in will not be difficult. However, taking away a heaven-rank demon beast still carries some risk. Are you sure you have thought this through? An ethereal and elegant voice, as gentle as the singing of heaven, echoed in Su Ruyan's mind. Hong Lian Sr., I have thought it through. When I started practicing the beast technique, I was ready. Su Ruyan, with her delicate and stunning beauty, expressed her determination. Chapter 731. Su Ruyan sneaks into by Lake Mountain, Mount Sumerus Divine Light, _1 by Lake Mountain, Alchemy Room. Since Su Ringguang had delivered 20 aquatic demon beasts, all of which had been refined into Blackwater Dragon spirit weapons, Lu Chongqing had yet another heavy burden added to his daily routine. Every 2 to 3 months, he would need to make a batch of spirit-nurturing elixirs, wisdom-opening elixirs, and ascending dragon elixirs. He felt it was absolutely necessary to hire an imperial alchemist. Otherwise, cultivating Dao soldiers by relying on his own alchemy skills was simply too troublesome. Huff huff huff. At this moment, Lu Chongqing was sitting at his desk, holding a third-rank brush in hand, drawing talismans. Due to the demand for talismans by talisman formations, he had always maintained the habit of talisman making. So each time he made elixirs during his free time, he would draw a few talismans. Lu Wangshu, dressed in a pink and white outfit with 2 buns in her hair, sat squatting next to the alchemy furnace, holding a banana leaf fan that was almost as big as herself, fanning towards the furnace opening. Her delicate, doll-like cheeks reddened by the fiery glow looked exceedingly cute. The sorrow of children comes quickly and leaves just as fast. Additionally, with plenty of playmates of the same age at school, Lu Wangshu quickly moved past the sadness of her mother Xiao Xia's departure. Having heard the day before last that her father Lu Chongqing was doing alchemy, she was full of curiosity and wanted to see what alchemy was like. After watching, she claimed that the alchemy masters in the picture books all had fan-bearing children, so she volunteered to be her daddy's fan-bearer to help with the alchemy. Lu Chongqing did not refuse his daughter's request. After all, children are playful and interested in new and novel things. Then, Lu Chongqing took out a top-grade magic artifact that was impervious to heat and cold from his storage bag, and had someone buy a banana leaf fan for her to wave around and play with. Unexpectedly, the little girl actually took to it, and for 3 days straight, she did not tire of it. She would run to the alchemy room after returning from school, and also expressed that she wanted to learn alchemy. Wangshu, are you tired? At this time, Lu Chongqing had finished drawing the talisman and looked towards his precious daughter. Under the glow of the red fire, Her tender little face was roasted red, and beads of sweat damped the hair on her forehead. Though they had magic artifacts that made them impervious to the cold and heat, without mana to activate them, merely carrying them did not provide real protection against the extremes. After all, this fire wasn't an ordinary flame, but earth vein fire. "Daddy, I'm not tired." The little girl heard Lu Changsheng's words, immediately stood up and vigorously fanned the earth fire a few times, her voice crisp and clear. "Hee. The elixir will take a while. Daddy will teach you how to make talismans." Lu Changsheng stood up, came to his daughter's side, caressed her head, and used his mana to dispel the sweat and heat from her forehead. "Daddy, drawing talismans is too boring. I think it's not as interesting as alchemy or puppeteering." Lu Wangshu said so. In her school, they taught about formations, alchemy, talisman making, puppeteering, beast taming, spirit plants, and so on. But since she ate elixir medicines like candy on a daily basis and played with puppet toys in the family's playground, she was only interested in those two subjects. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng felt a chill in his heart. It would be rather awkward if his daughter had no interest in talisman making. Thinking that youth was the time to cultivate a child's interests and hobbies, and now that his daughter Lu Wangshu was also 8 years old, he should foster her interest in the talisman path. Otherwise, it would be a waste if a talisman path prodigy spent all her time indulging in fishing, and even in alchemy and puppeteering. It simply wouldn't be proper. He took out a stack of spirit talismans and said warmly, "How can drawing talismans be boring? Look at these talismans Daddy drew. They're all very interesting. This talisman can transform into a firebird. This one can whip up a fierce wind. This one can bring down heavenly thunder. Daddy, is there one that can make you fly?" Lu Wangshu, showing some interest upon hearing this, asked out loud. "Yes." Lu Changsheng immediately responded, "Come. Daddy will draw you a talisman that you can use to fly." Subsequently, father and daughter sat in front of the desk, with Lu Changsheng drawing the flying ascension talisman under his daughter's watchful eyes. When Lu Changsheng completed the talisman, he slapped it onto his daughter's body and activated it with his mana, saying, "Now, my dear girl, follow your feelings and control this energy. Then you'll be able to fly on your own." "Eh?" Lu Wangshu followed his instructions with interest, and immediately found herself floating gently in the air. However, since she hadn't begun cultivation, she couldn't control the power and kept bumping around clumsily. But with the patient guidance of her father, she gradually got the hang of it and enjoyed herself immensely. Afterward, Lu Changsheng began drawing all kinds of interesting talismans like unveiling treasures, showing them to his daughter, who played tirelessly with them. After a long playtime, seeing that there was a hint of weariness in his daughter's eyes and brows, Lu Changsheng said warmly, "You're a bit tired, aren't you? Daddy will take you back to rest and sleep. But the elixir isn't finished yet. I want to stay with Daddy." Lu Wangshu, pointing at the alchemy furnace, said somewhat reluctantly. These past several days, she had come with the wish to see the elixir medicines completed. It will still take quite a while before it's done. Looking at the pill furnace, Lu Changsheng estimated that it would take another 2 to 3 hours before the pills would be ready. He rubbed his daughter's little head gently and said, "Why don't you go to sleep first? And when the elixirs are ready, Daddy will call you." "No, I don't want to. I want to be with Daddy. Carry me to sleep." Lu Wangshu spoke coquettishly. "You're such a big girl now." Lu Changsheng laughed doting, pinching his daughter's little nose. But he still picked her up and took her to the bench nearby, saying, "All right, go to sleep." Curling up in Lu Changsheng's arms like a little kitten, Lu Wangshu looked up at him with her bright, doe-like eyes, pitifully saying, "Daddy, I still want a sugar bean." "All right, after eating it, you have to sleep soundly."